freaking flaccid stream.
We are live right here
yeah.
on Thank You Critical YouTube for the Comics Aficionados. These guys were goofing off in the background as I was trying to get the show on the road, but we are here. That is Eric O'Sullivan. He is not sick. He has decided to change his style. What happened, Eric?
I woke up and all my hair was stuck to the pillow, and I was
Did you lose a bet?
And no. I'm actually thinking about doing for cosplay this coming convention season. Definitely going to Wicked Boston Con next season, which is a full-on comic convention. Dude, so many people are going to be there. Looking forward to it. Going as Lex Luthor. Gonna do.
You think they'll recognize Powder though? It's like not a big movie.
In the bathroom? Are you talking about that?
You just shave off the eyebrows.
Powder in the bathroom.
How you been doing, Eric? How's the channel doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Oh, the channel's doing awesome. Hey, tune in. If you're tuning in right now, you can also click on my link too and just subscribe. I'm trying to get over 1,000 subscribers.
Where are you at now?
Get there. I'm at 780. And
you'll be there in a couple months.
Exactly. I'm really psyched. Our daily 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, we talk about comic books every day, just for a few minutes in a day. Then we get on and do our shit, and then but we take a break together at my comics coffee table. And that's why I bring the coffee, and I just pour it, and it looks great. And Fatal J loves it when I do this. Hi, Fatal J. If you're out there in TV land. But yeah, and thank you so much, Wes, for having me on again. And this is a great panel. It's a great live chat. And I see a lot of people from this live chat and my live chat. And I talk to them every day about comic books. It's possible. It's really
Homer Jimmy says, "Oh Lord, Gabe's on the show."
Indeed.
You're like the Fatal J.
So he's got something nice to say about Gotham Knights.
Now, to be clear, I'm focusing on the grammar. Is that a compliment, or no. is that a hot take? What's going on there? He might be praying. He might be praising God for my presence. Which
get somebody smart on the show.
I would like to just point out that was called sarcasm, Gabe.
Oh,
I believe so.
I don't know how to pick up
sarcasm.
Hey, I don't know how to pick up on sarcasm. I'm not smart enough for that.
How's everything going, Gabe? We actually got a couple of new comic books to talk about this week. You're going to do the best of the week with me.
I'm going to do the best of the week with you because we got a lot of new comics. Well, we got a lot of new comics every week.
No, I'm talking about number one issues that are actually worth recommending.
Yeah, we do. We do actually. There one in particular. I that based on other recommendations you particular I picked up. We're going to talk about like it a lot. Reviews, and more reviews. Big news also from Marvel as far as corporate changes that are going on, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. So I'm happy to discuss any and every comic that I've read, which is a lot, and what I'm finding out is more than most, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, we keep the lights on. So I'm glad to talk about anything that's kind of come up, and I'm very anxious to get everybody's opinion on what's going on with Marvel's recent shakeup. That's going to be an interesting topic.
Should be very interesting. We've also got the man MVP, Maxfield Von Priestley, with the most devious name in all of comic books YouTube, but the face of an angel. How does that work?
Oh. Well, thank you. Well, I mean, gosh, it's been months now since someone was calling me like Maxfield Von Doom, and that was my evil name for their comic book. But then when people listen to me, they're like, oh, this guy's got some sensible takes. So, yeah. But thank you again for having me, brother. It's all, yeah, Josh. Yeah, right. Whatever. I see that.
Is Gold's Gym still a thing? I thought that was like an 80s thing if you wanted to go to the beach in California.
Out here in West Coast, Gold's is going strong. So still got to rep my brand.
If you want to buy drugs, that's a good place to go.
You got to go in the... Doc's wearing a Bally's shirt.
Yeah. No. Fuck there, Felly. No, I'm wearing a Curve shirt. Come on.
Ballet.
If anybody remembers,
where did Eric get that shirt? Where did Eric get that shirt?
Zumba? He got that off of YouTube. I think there's links underneath my videos now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I never watch your videos, so I don't.
Well, yes, it's exactly. It was from the YouTube. I was watching it on my iPhone, and I saw just another ad for another West T-shirt, and I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh wow, there's actually a Comics Aficionados shirt. I love this logo of the evolution of man and taking flight. I love that, and I'm like, I get that on a T-shirt now. So I bought a couple. I'm gonna
Well,
come in uniform. Check it out, everyone in the chat. I mean, you drop the link for that, and hey, get some gear, everyone. Look at, don't you want one of these? I did. I got.
We're gonna get some better ones too. I gotta get a few things ironed out. I gotta get channel memberships and Patreon up as well as shirts.
And you need the Doc is Right T-shirt.
We are going to get a Doc is Right T-shirt, although somebody wanted to put you in a body glove for it.
Yes!
No one wants to buy that. It's rough.
Nobody wants to see that shit.
Oh, man. We'll talk about Voyager instead, man.
Voyager. I'm glad it's over. Neelix finally left. I was like, why didn't they do this in season 1?
You're a Trekkie now. You've gone through it.
Trekker.
Someone actually got mad at me. They're like, what do you mean Neelix is worthless? He's a chef, he's an ambassador, and he's the morality chief or whatever. It's like, you don't understand. I'm talking about worthless to the story. He doesn't do anything. He's just there. At least Tuvok, despite having not a personality, is a fucking plot device. He can fix things or get you out of a problem. Neelix does nothing. Oh, well, all right. No more
take
Star
your
Trek.
word for it.
Make soup.
Yeah,
He
we got
makes
all people upset.
Neelix makes soup. Come on.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we also got Josh McDonald. How was last weekend? I know you wanted to be here, but you couldn't because there was a loss, I guess, of a family friend.
Yeah, we had a family friend pass away, and it was one of those weird things where she had been sick but wasn't sick anymore, and everything seemed fine, and then it was kind of unexpected. So,
jeez, Gabe just stomped out of the room. He does not care about that.
Oh my god, that was great.
Where is the love?
Yeah, no love. Turn your freaking camera off when you're gonna storm off, Gabe. Jeez. No, I wanted to be here. I really wanted to kind of talk Alonso because that would have been a fun topic. But
we can get into today.
Yeah, we'll touch on it a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. It's been a great week. For those of you that don't know, I started my new day job this week, and twice as stressful, but like half the hours. And I feel so rested and rejuvenated. So,
do you get weekends off?
I do get weekend. Well, yes, I will eventually have to work one weekend a month, but for at least 6 to 8 months, I don't have to. Hey, Gabe, your camera's on.
Yeah.
I don't know if
close up of Gabe.
He was wearing pants, thank God.
Yeah. Could have been worse.
That could have been interesting.
Yeah.
And
Gabe
comparatively,
off the show, he's pissed off about Josh, and then comes back.
He's like, "F this place," and he's muted. He's talking shit about us on mute.
Yeah,
I had to make some adjustments to my rig here. We got some dark thunderstorms coming through, and it's like screwing everything up. So I got to make some adjustments.
Messing up with the acoustics.
Yep.
Man. All right. Well, last but not least, Doc, you've already had one very dirty thing said about your mom today. How you doing?
I'm good. That's about par for the course for a day. Yeah.
Eric O'Sullivan went there. He's a true Southie.
Dude,
we do have a few super chats to hit real quick before we get into all this Marvel madness. Callum says, Superman sees a lady hanging from a building. Why aren't you helping me? She asked. He said, I don't want to get me too. Flight away. We see that in a lot of gyms, MVP, where ladies are not being able to get the weights off of them, but no one comes over to pull them off anymore.
Yeah, we also see that a lot in dating now, a lot with guys, like younger guys that are trying to date, is they don't even want to go up to a girl anymore, let alone go into the gym. Yeah, now at this point, you're afraid to be in the back of some, girl's TikTok video being called a misogynist online. So a lot of guys just don't even worry about it anymore and just do their thing. But yeah.
Oh no, it's the consequences of their own decisions.
Oh, how awful. Yeah.
I know.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
Choked out by a fucking...
Keep ignoring them. It drives them wild. Do it, dude.
It would be a rough way to pass out,
Yeah, just stuck in the squat rack, and you're just all right.
Can we just get Joey Swole on the show one time? That would be... I'd be good with that.
Does he know comics?
Probably not, but he could definitely make fun of girls.
It wouldn't surprise
trying to
me
embarrass guys at the gym.
Look, that's a terrible idea, and here's why: because Wes can barely keep us under control.
This is true.
You think Swole showing up on the show is going to make that better? No.
Trying to take it over.
He sure as hell looks like a comic book character. I mean, that dude is jacked as hell. He's been within the fitness industry for a while, but just recently started doing these videos, and I think it's good. He's calling people out, and people are getting their memberships revoked, which is good. So,
and I think, well, I think Robert Frank did the Jack show once or twice.
ooh. Mhm.
So,
All right.
yeah.
There you go.
So we can probably
Gavin-
get some other Jim Bro in.
Gavin
Yeah.
says, how could a good comic like Sabretooth and the Exiles fall from grace? They messed up by making Grayson Creed evil. He goes against Sabretooth, saving him from hell in the first place. Grayson should be good.
Not
Okay.
only this, but they made like, oh, sorry, Doc. I was just going to say that they also made like multiverse Sabretooths ridiculous. I was out after like the first 5 pages.
That's
Sabretooth.
that's Doc's favorite writer, Victor Laval. So
I was out after the
It's-
Sabretooth miniseries.
Yeah. Okay. First, you start with a terrible writer that wrote a terrible series, and then you decide to spin that off into Sabretooth and the Exiles being a brand that has been utterly ruined since volume 1. I mean, Jeff Parker put a knife in it. Whoever the fuck did that other one where they decided to make Blink, like,
Gotta be Jason Aaron.
no, it was some other, flavor of the month.
some kind of journeyman writer.
No, it was some diversity checkbox writer that came in, shit all over the book, and that's the one where we got the terrible Captain Carter, Peggy Carter Captain America.
It was
book.
that the guy who was the artist, who was typically an artist, but he decided to do artist and writing gig for that one.
I honestly I don't remember. It was another terrible.
They're saying it's Saladin Ahmed.
Oh yeah, it was
No.
Sal. No, he's right. It was Salad Man.
Oh, okay.
Salad Man wrote that book. So it was, and then that the Exiles brand has just been utterly destroyed since Jeff Parker, and then done by a terrible writer that has written absolutely nothing that is sold. And also, honestly, Grayson Creed is evil. He ran the Friends of Humanity. He was the villain. So
Well,
yeah, he should
I'll
still
give-
be evil.
I'll give Victor Laval a little bit of credit on the first series, which is the Sabretooth series that eventually spun off into Sabretooth and the Exiles. I liked the potential that it had, because what it was doing was taking Sabretooth, and he was planting the seeds of discord within Krakoa that could have eventually led to some kind of civil war that upended the whole thing.
Yes,
So
but
the
it was
potential was there, but what happened was it just stopped. And
No,
then
it
continued into the Exiles, and it turned into a mess right after that. So
no, the fact that it was a commentary on the prison system with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. That's why it sucked. You could do the sowing discord. You can't do it while also making the least subtle commentary on prisons in the history of humanity.
All right, Doc. Well, common sense wasn't over. He says Destiny's vision about Sabretooth was wrong. I was hoping he and the Exiles, now called the Maroons, would be a better nation that can throw a big role in Fall of X.
Was it wrong, or was it just not come to fruition yet?
I have no idea. I didn't read it.
I'm so out of the loop on X-Men.
No,
and I'm grateful.
Destiny keeps hinting that the end or the future of the mutants, or whatever you want to call it, is in the hands of Sabretooth somehow. But she never quite quantifies or clarifies in what way or to what capacity. So it could
Because
be
they haven't decided yet.
because they haven't decided yet. And honestly, that feels like the kind of thing where they just planted that to kind of give you some sort of foreshadowing for the future, but the editorial hasn't worked it out yet.
Like
So
when
they're
the Mark
just-
Waid does it, these two people are going to be together. Like it's Tony Stark and was it Emma Frost?
Game of Frost or something.
And then it's going to happen. We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. So I think it's just one of these things where they planted it that it might come true in the future, but they just haven't gotten that far yet, or at least haven't figured out how to make it happen.
There we go. Lade Kramer says, go check out Eric's daily show. You will enjoy it.
Oh, yes, you will. Yeah, we talk about comic books for like a half an hour every day. We just do it. We're going through my long boxes. I'm reboxing, reboarding, rebagging, and then the entire way I'm saying, get back to your local comic book shop and get your supplies there. Like, don't get it through your online supply chain. Pay that markup. You know what I mean? You're helping keeping your stores open. They are the fulcrum of our culture. And
There
so,
we
yeah,
go.
big fan of comic book shops. I love you, comic book shops.
Carrie Nerdy Girl Create says Eric is cosplaying as Saitama from One Punch Man.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. It's just a little makeup and wardrobe and cosplay is cool.
It's better than powder, right?
It's much better than powder. Thank you very much.
Cosplayers need to get out of cons, so no, don't cosplay as anything.
Those are the best looking
I
people in the whole room,
disagree.
Doc. What do you want a bunch of uggos?
I don't care. They spend half the time getting in the way of anybody actually doing commerce. It's a convention. It's not a fashion show. Fuck off with that.
Look.
Well, Doc,
If
fuck
it's
off. I don't want to look at your face and then Gabe's face the whole time. I want to see some hot chicks in cool costumes.
I
Why
want to
didn't you go to
stare
Heat
at
this morning? What did
comic
I do?
books.
Notice-
You can have both.
No, you
Notice
can't.
how
It's
Wes
the
didn't-
fucking
If it wasn't
way.
for cosplayers and Funko Pops, there'd be no reason to go to Comic-Con right now.
Notice how Wes didn't say that he didn't want to look at Josh and my faces. Because
Oh,
we are
Funny
we're the good looking ones. No.
Also, we're just gonna go like equal opportunity here. Cosplay equals chestices, okay?
Exactly.
Lady
That'll look-
chestices
Yes,
with the
sir.
breastises, and then the men's chestices. We'll take
Supposedly
it.
Doc's a chest guy. I don't get it.
I
This is
love
the-
me some fucking titties, but no, get out of my Comic Cons. I'm here to look for comics.
But not in my safe space, right? Oh,
Aw.
Yeah.
jeez. Sorry you had to see boobs while you were looking at comics, Doc.
Yeah,
Oh,
Grow up,
such a
like,
struggle.
gosh. This is clearly the doc is wrong show, and we're only 15
Exactly.
minutes in. It's a
That
precursor
says
of how it's gonna
Gabe.
go.
There's news. Joe Quesada is making comics for Amazon. Is he going to make new IPs or adapt Prime shows? I would like them to continue Carnival Row.
I like the first season of Carnival Row. I would like that show. I think there's a season 2 that just came out. I have to go back and check. I haven't checked in a while. Joe Quesada's news is, I think, big news, maybe, but it's
Well, they did
all
the same thing with Grant Morrison a couple of years ago, where he was
Yeah,
going to
I
develop
mean,
IPs as well. For those.
Amazon and Netflix and these streaming online services hiring away comics related executives to curate or somehow adapt material is nothing new.
I'm assuming he's making original material with the potential to be adapted to Amazon.
Either that or he's looking for creator-owned stuff that's already out there and sort of being the tastemaker to pick and choose to say, okay, this would be a good adaptation, that would be a good. Maybe he's doing that as well. More to power to him. I'm sure they're throwing a ton of money at him. This is Amazon. Their streaming services right now is ticking up where Netflix is ticking down. So they're in a position to throw some money at him. You also have to kind of look at what Joe has done with Marvel and say the past 5 to 10 years being in an executive position and how well he's curated Marvel comics. And, I counterbalance that decision with, well, he was good in the past, but look at what he's done lately. And it's not a lot of great. So maybe it's a good decision, maybe not.
They're kind
We'll
of
see what
doing a
comes up with.
different thing to what Netflix did with Mark Miller, where they went to the creator
Yeah.
and said, we want you to create stuff. Now they're going to the lead editor guy, the overseer, and say, you've got contacts, bring in talent. I am assuming what this is.
Yeah, but he also has chops going way back to was it Marvel Knights and some of those earlier properties. So he
He's
knows
an
how to tell
artist.
it. What?
He was just an artist on those, wasn't he?
Right, but I mean that's part of the storytelling process. So he knows how to tell a story. Now the question is a lot of it going to be something that he creates on his own? I doubt it. I think it's more going to be a
He's
tastemaker
buddies with
situation.
Kevin Smith. It's going to be a lot of Kevin Smith.
If that's the case, then just dump it right now. Just fire him.
I do think it was him and Palmiotti that were kind of like the forebringers of Marvel Knights, though. I think they were the ones that kind of developed the concept of it. The three things y'all mentioned, I assume it's going to be all three of those. I think that he's going to try to find comics for them to make. I think they're going to take some of their programs that they have that are popular and try to transition those down into comics. And then I think he's going to try to create new IP for Amazon. And that'll kind of be like a winning, hat trick, hopefully, knock on wood, to get some buzz there. But
Yeah, at a very high level, I see this as maybe as a kind of a quick jab at Disney Plus. They're trying to say we can do superheroes and comics better, and
Probably.
maybe they can. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Mike Quarter Irish says Henry Cavill seems to be something of a conservative, or at least he's not woke. Do you think that had anything to do with Gunn replacing him? I don't think so. I think it's because they want the Superman to be really young.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Henry
I don't
Cavill,
think
I
so
think, if he's not 40, he's almost there.
I'm pretty sure he's in his 40s.
Yeah, I think he is in his early 40s.
I think
So I think he just was too
I
old.
thought he was 38 or 39.
I don't think it has anything to do with his politics. I think it's got everything to do with them wanting a young Superman and them wanting a complete separation from the Snyder stuff.
They haven't done the complete separation. They brought so many people back, so that's almost impossible to do at this time. But Doc, you'll know that one of the big mistakes of the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. is the face of the MCU, but he was like, was he 50 when he started?
Oh, yeah. He was way old. He was in his late 40s, I think, mid to late 40s. He did it for 12, 13. He's 60 now. Yeah. But then again, I mean, we're still talking about, well, maybe they could bring Tom Cruise in to be the alternate universe Tony Stark. And he is 60 something.
Yeah, well, Tom Cruise could do no wrong.
Downey Jr. is 57. He's 57.
Yeah.
So I think they're wanting to go a little bit younger as far as the casting goes. Lade says, okay, the next comic review challenge from DC Comics, June 2023, Steelworks #1 by Michael Dorn. Let's see if work can make Doc the #1 Jim Irons fan. That doesn't feel like a punishment, Doc. We'll do it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're going to review Steelworks #1 from Michael Dorn in June 2023 to replace Hellcat #1 that he tormented you with.
Okay. Well, I don't know what Worf is.
Michael
Worf
Dorn
is Michael Dorn played Worf. Yeah. He's a Klingon.
Klingon
ever to join Starfleet?
Oh, it's your terrible space commie show. Okay, never mind.
Live long and prosper, my friend.
Space commies.
You'd play
that would be a good comic book. Space commies. Going on.
Well, they had that Moon Nazis movie that was actually kind of funny. The zombie Nazis on the moon. What was it? Iron Sky, something like that.
Yeah, it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that the one where Hitler was riding a T-Rex or something?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Weird like that.
Yeah, it was weird, but I don't think it was that.
Daniel Beatty, Multiverse used to be interesting, used to be world build, and I give a different viewpoint of events now. It's just a lazy plot to jam one bad idea on any and every character. I'm with you. I'm so done with multiverses. When I was watching Deep Space Nine, which I like, anytime the Mirror Universe shows up, I hit next episode because I know it means absolutely nothing to anything.
They're fun.
Whatever, man. I've seen
Evil
enough
Kara.
multiverses in comic books. I don't need any more.
I think.
But it was done in the 90s before all this foolishness, ruined it.
I'm binge watching it in 2022. That's what happened.
I think one of the last adaptations we got of a multiverse that was done well was the actual Into the Spider-Verse animated film. I really enjoyed that movie, but after that, it seemed like everyone just went so full in on that concept that it just completely diluted it. And now
the only modern thing that I've seen use multiverses that I think is good is Fringe, which was a TV show I believe on ABC.
No, Fox.
Was it Fox? Okay, when you went in there, you would know exactly what universe you were in because in their world, the Statue of Liberty was still gold. There were still Zeppelins and stuff, and there were things happening that were paralleling between the two universes. They were kind of cracking in on each other.
And when they did the intros, if it was going to be in one universe, it was red. If it was in another universe, it was blue. There was an amber universe when they got connected, and there was a gray universe whenever it was set in the future. It was, it was easy. Like on the title card screen. Yeah, a Fringe.
Really? Oh, that
made it very clear.
A code?
Yeah, it's a really good show, and it's got Spock in. It's got Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, I feel like too. Our fondness of multiverse comes from when you would actually get stories from multiverse, and multiverse now is nothing but a cameo show. I mean, that's
what are those, Josh?
If it's not sliders, I don't care.
They don't make action figures for these nice alternate uniforms anymore.
That's not true. McFarlane Toys absolutely does multiverse toys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You got me there.
In fact, they create their own multiverse toys. They create stuff and then they make comic books about it.
Yeah, but they're awesome. That's the difference.
Yes, they are. Awesome.
That line is even called multiverse.
Callum Lyle. If you got Vita, Mags, Joe Glass, T, Titty, and Brooks in the room and you stood and said, sell me this pen, what would their answer be?
I'll take a stab at this. So with Vita, you would have, hey, what's up? We got some pins for sale over here. No. White people can't buy them. They're not for you. No white men. Mags would probably be more like, imagine me in a dirty wife beater and be like,
buy this or I'll stab you in the eye.
listen, we have pins, and if you don't want to be like a fucking hater, just buy them. Okay. I don't fucking care. Why am I here? Joe Glass would probably be like, oh my god, it's glitters and sparkles.
If you don't buy my pen, I'm gonna be homeless.
Why can't people buy my stuff? Why don't you like me? T would just be like,
I'll suck your dick.
Well, come on, man.
It's a family show. I said that off the air, dude. I said it to you off the air.
I'm gonna skip the T one. I think Doc got that. Teeny would be like, hey, lesbians, bye, we're here for you. This is my husband, but I'm bi and potentially lesbian. It's my husband. And I don't know who the fuck Brooks is. So
Mark Brooks.
Mark Brooks.
Oh, I don't know.
If you don't buy my pen, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, I was gonna say just throw
Yeah.
attention.
This is a wet ink pen. Anything
You
you
buy
write
this
on
pen or you're an
there,
idiot.
wet
There's
breath.
only
Someone did. Homer Jimmy demonetized all caps. Yeah, probably.
I don't know why. Whatever, man. Miss Maria, idea to troll Marvel editorial: send Spider-Man, Mary Jane wedding pictures in the mail. Also, is Doc Ace? Doc's a fucking thorn in my side. Ace.
I am Ace.
Aces over eights, more like it.
Jeez.
Listen, the only reason this Spider-Man Mary Jane wedding picture stuff is coming up is because Zeb Wells is finally getting around to stop wasting everybody's time with those nonsense stories and getting to whatever happened with that big explosion in York, PA. And so far, it's okay, but it's not great. And if he doesn't stick the landing on issues 25 and 26, he's going to have some explaining to do. And it keeps going back to Marvel is stubbornly resistant to giving, I think, what I believe is the majority of fans what they want is they want Peter and Mary Jane back together. And the more they fight it, the more they look dumb. And it's just going to keep coming up and keep coming up unless they find an adequate way to address it.
Doc is not asexual, but he is a deviant. I can tell you that.
I am a goddamn deviant, so yeah.
Absolutely. Callum Lyle, Gud is playing favorites and his wife. Absolutely. That's why there's so much stupid stuff that he's doing. It's like either you're not going to be attached to the Snyderverse or you are.
Yeah.
It sounds like he wants to clean break, but he wants to bring in his friends that were hired at the same time too. I think it's a bad idea. All right. Goblin Sense, I'm confident Superboy comics are better than John Kent. Do you think he's talking about Superboy Boy of Tomorrow, whatever that thing is?
Yeah, Connor Kent has got a series, or at least a mini series coming up, limited run. The next issue of John Kent, which comes out this coming Tuesday, will resolve the John Kent Ultraman conflict.
I'm planning on reviewing this
in a pretty definitive way, and I think some people are going to be they're either going to love it or they're going to be really annoyed by it, depending on your point of view.
I feel like
John
I'm
Kent.
an annoyed person.
That is, I think it's a default position to take, sure, but yeah, it's a bold move. I'll give Tom Taylor that much.
Very nice. There we go. Well, I think we got through all that. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting the channel. Really, really appreciate it. And all of your support is paying off. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got this great camera that's much nicer now. And next week, we will have a brand new microphone, so the audio will be better. I've got like a boom thing. I've had an entire desk built for me, which I'll show you guys the pictures when it's all finally done. So I definitely appreciate that and allowing me to enhance the quality of production here on the channel. Without you guys, it would be impossible. All right. Did I do it? Was that a good emphasis?
Yes.
Yeah, but on the wrong syllable.
I think that's what happened. This is what happened. But we do need to get into this Disney firings. We knew that they were going to be laying off 7,000 people starting this week, then going through to the summer. We weren't sure how it was going to hit Marvel Comics. Obviously, it's had a big effect, at least in the short term, on Marvel Comics. As in, Marvel Entertainment doesn't exist anymore. It's been folded into Disney as a bigger corporation. I imagine it's still going to fall under Marvel Studios because Dan Buckley, who was the president of Marvel Entertainment, still answers to Kevin Feige. And Ike Perlmutter, the man who sold Marvel to Disney in the first place after a very odd acquisition, it should probably belong to Jim Shooter to this day. is gone out the door. Doc, I thought he had a job for life as part of that agreement. What the hell happened?
I don't know. I mean, does he still have his board position? I know he's fired from the company. He might not be an employee anymore.
He still owns a lot of Marvel stock, but he wasn't on the board.
Yeah, he's still a huge shareholder, and he can probably force himself onto the board at
he tried to force
point.
somebody else onto the board, and that's probably the reason he got fired to begin with.
Well, he did, but that was because he was still actually had a job. So maybe he didn't want to have a job and be on the board at the same time. Maybe he will now try to force himself onto the board. I don't know. But I do find it amusing. I mean, it is kind of like a Jim Lee DC situation where, he basically got guaranteed a job for a very long time, if not permanently, when he sold the Wildstorm. But same thing with what's his name? Yeah, why am I Ike? Yeah. I'm not surprised, because Disney is notoriously, especially Iger, is notoriously vindictive. So he took an opportunity to get rid of a guy that he didn't like and that was willing to fight him. I mean, what do you expect?
I mean, if you want to look, if you kind of look back on the history, there's a lot of up and down regarding Perlmutter's tenure. So if you kind of take a look at where it's been really coming to a head lately, is Ike Perlmutter was the Kevin Feige, but not on the film side. Originally, when Kevin Feige really started coming up and coming into power, Kevin Feige was all about the movies, and that was his purview. Ike Perlmutter was basically everything else around that, mostly on television and streaming. So they were constantly at odds with each other because Kevin Feige wanted to do Marvel films and take the characters in one direction. Perlmutter said, well, I'm not going to synergize with you because I'm going in this direction. So if you look at the early stages of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 Marvel or the MCU, that's pretty much all Feige, or a lot of it is Feige. Perlmutter is the Netflix Marvel shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, The Punisher, those kinds of things. But then that's where you also got the ABC shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the, what was it, the Inhumans, I think it was.
Hold on, because you're getting stuff mixed up. So
some of it, but it gets really convoluted, I guess is my point.
Like that first stage of Marvel TV.
Those two were always butting heads.
Perlmutter actually was involved. Perlmutter actually was involved with the films. He had a role in the films, and you pretty much had like this. Well, it started off that it was Favreau, Feige, and Perlmutter, and you had a lot of dissension there. You had who was originally supposed to do Ant-Man?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright.
Yeah,
so this is when they were trying to get things going because Ant-Man was originally supposed to be the first film, and Edgar Wright backed out and left because of Perlmutter. He was like, pretty much, fuck this guy. I'm not going to work here. I can't handle him. As they started going along, Joss Whedon was brought in kind of like towards the end of phase 1 once he was announced that he was going to direct the Avengers. And he came in, and he's the one that, with Feige and Perlmutter to a degree, started laying out all the films for the MCU going out throughout the Infinity War, which at the time was 2 different Infinity War movies. And they fought so much with Perlmutter because Perlmutter had the Marvel board that was also involved with the films, and that was your Joe Quesadas and
the creative committee.
Yeah. And it was just nothing but back and forth crap. And I'm not saying, one side is completely wrong or one side is completely bad. I think they both had their opportunities of not being the best, but you have situations where like Demon in a Bottle did not get transpired to film because of Perlmutter and the Marvel board. They didn't want to make him look bad. They wanted that character to be a beacon of hope in a way, and it was just like you're neglecting a story. They didn't even want Robert Downey Jr. in the Civil War movie, so that's when you had Feige go to Iger and say like, look, it's either him or me, make a decision. And Iger said, you've been successful for us, you get films. And that's when they separated TV from films, because S.H.I.E.L.D. was the first show that was going to come out, and it was developed under everyone, and Joss Whedon was taking that and running it. After that, you got the television division going, and you had
Jeff Loeb.
Correct.
Yeah.
They came in and kind of oversaw the creative aspects of it.
You're right. I got some of the details backwards, but I guess what the point I was trying to make on that was, I think the constant butting heads between Feige and Perlmutter had a significant factor in Perlmutter's dismissal.
I'm pretty sure
says
it had
that had nothing to do with it, I think they'd be mistaken.
Putting a guy on the board that was going to go against everything Bob Iger wanted to do.
Yeah, Nelson Peltz.
That was like the final straw.
And you know what? But
it's not like he was doing anything for that money.
But here's the thing: Ike got everything that he wanted. He got all the things that he pushed Peltz in there to get without actually getting him onto the board. Now, if he would have got him on the board, he would have been protected.
But he is still a billionaire, so
yeah, he's still
true.
He's a billionaire. Yeah, he's got
and
more than that. Yeah, he's got
nobody's crying for Perlmutter's finances.
No.
Yeah,
I got some.
Man's old.
Okay, as an X-Men fan, a lifelong X-Men fan, did I hear this on Perch or did I hear it from Neon? I don't know, but was Perlmutter the one that was like, not consciously not making good X-Men comics so it wouldn't?
Yes,
because Fox
tried to downplay them for the Inhumans.
Okay, really?
He is the one that actually did walk through the Marvel offices and rip down Fantastic Four posters out of people's cubicles. Because they didn't have the rights.
Movie rights.
Because they were a Fox.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think with Perlmutter gone, we're going to get better X-Men stories? The Krakoan age will be over.
No.
So
yes,
come on.
No. That long time.
Because if that was the case, after the Fox acquisition, we would have already started getting good X-Men. They had it back by then. So what the fuck difference does it make? They would have started doing well then. So this is
also not to give Feige anything useful to work with, except for
they try to make it human. Something. You know what's interesting about this, Gabe, is typically Disney, when they want to do comic books, they do not make them in house. They used to, and then they licensed it out. But Marvel Comics were kind of their own entity underneath Marvel Entertainment, and they didn't operate really like the other entities within Disney did when it came out to storytelling for their characters that they've had for 100 years at this point. Do you think there's a chance they start treating Marvel Comics like they treated the other Disney comics and stuff that were out there?
Well, I mean, I think there's a chance for anything. If the money's right and the contracts are right. I'll give you an example. There are one of the on Comical Opinions, one of the publishers that we cover is Dynamite. Dynamite in recent months has come out with a slew of Disney character comics. As you know from Aaron Sparrow, they've got Darkwing Duck now. They've got Gargoyles. Yep. Scar, #1 Scar from The Lion King comes out this coming week. You got Maleficent coming up. You've got all these Disney characters coming out. That tells me internally, from a contracts perspective, they're being more, I would say, less picky about farming.
IDW also has their Star Wars stuff, right?
No, Dark Horse stuff. So could Marvel change to a model where they just outsource the characters in other places, other than what they used to do with what was it, like superhero, like the kids version, like Superhero Legends type stuff with Marvel
Action,
that was it. Could they do that? Absolutely. Will they get some resistance from it internally? Probably yes, but I think this is the same point that we've come back to over and over and over again on this show, is you're not going to see a substantive change at Marvel Comics unless you see a change in leadership. So unless that happens, things are just going to stick where they are, unless somebody comes in with a hammer and says, Cebulski, make it happen. Or Cebulski, you're out of here. Brevoort, make it happen. Or Brevoort, you're out of here. One or the other. Something's got to happen. And as long as you keep that same pocket of senior editors and decision makers at Marvel Comics, you're not going to see any change. And I expect that we might see a change soon.
I think.
Yeah, and go ahead, Doc.
No, go.
Aaron and I, actually, speaking of Aaron Sparrow, good friend of the show, he and I were talking the other day. We did a video about it, and one of the things that he was saying is that they may, start telling creators and editors and stuff, hey, well, we're going to move our headquarters to Burbank, and you can come with us, but we're not going to pay anything. So it kind of like, forces them out unwillingly, willingly, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, my whole thing with this is been what is going to happen with the comic books themselves. And I think if we look at Disney's past, how they've licensed out other characters, other stories and whatnot, we'll have a good idea of what they will do with Marvel. But there are a lot of different pros and cons. I'm hoping, and like you said, Gabe, that it's going to start with leadership. But if this is being sucked under the umbrella of Disney marketing, Disney distribution, all that stuff, will it be Disney employees handling Marvel properties at that point? So will the leadership, I guess, change? Because now it won't be, I don't know.
I do think you're eventually going to see that transition. I don't think it's going to be right away. It's probably going to be a couple of years, like 2 to 5 years. But I do think you're going to eventually see Marvel Comics kind of shift under like a Disney marketing type just division. And honestly, I don't know if that's going to be a bad thing. I don't even know if licensing things out is going to be a bad thing. We've already had an example of the Fantastic Four book that came out that was honestly pretty damn good. And I think you're going to see that if that happens, one of the things that we complain about the most are all these stupid events that go nowhere. I think you're going to see less of those if you start seeing people license properties out. You're going to kind of get more of your just like roots, like type of stories of like it's focused on the character. I'm not saying it's going to be excellent, but you might get more back to just your traditional superhero kind of comic book storytelling.
Well, Marvel Knights reinvigorated several characters back in the day that they didn't know what to do with anymore.
Well, they did it differently than what you're going to see here. They actually hired a studio and paid them to publish those books the same way they did with Heroes Reborn when they hired both Extreme and Wildstorm. This would be them licensing out. So somebody's paying for the right to do it. Totally different circumstances, totally different situation. What I expect is a short term, you're going to start seeing cuts in the line. You're going to see them try to increase editorial so that it's a little more 1-to-1, 1-to-2 for books to editor ratio. You're going to see them try to really build up over the next years. And it's going to look really, really good for us comic fans. You'll see a reduction in events, a lot more standalone series, kind of, the big tent poles will be rebuilt as tent poles because they're trying to rebuild the value of the IPs and as standalone IPs to start licensing. And that's when you're going to start seeing licensed where the X-Men goes to IDW. The Avengers line goes to Boom. And so that will be literally the end of any sort of what we could consider an interconnected universe in comics. If you want it, you'll have to get television and film from now on.
I think they're going to play it smart. I think your Spider-Man, your X-Men, even your Iron Man to a degree because he's become so popular because of the films. I think they're going to hold that close to their chest and keep that. Any characters that are coming up in films, I believe they're going to hold close to their chest and keep that. I think your Iron Fists, your Hellcats, all that like lower tier stuff, you will see that kind of transition into other companies.
Well, they're going to use
for that. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to use those characters and those comic books as marketing for the film. So like they're not even going to have like maybe good stories, but it'll just be, hey, this new show or this new film, let's get a comic book out. But I do agree in terms of like they're going to cut their line hopefully like in half in terms of oversaturation. Marvel does not need 80 books out every single month, not to include variant covers. So for them to cut
Street Fighter, the movie, the video game.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they like. I hope that Disney like has some sort of someone from Deloitte who's kind of looking over this and consulting the business and looking at Marvel Comics and looking and saying like, you guys have 80 comics coming out a month. Yeah, no, we're getting rid of like half of that. Like only produce 40 and only give me your best stuff. And if that's the case, then that could be a good thing.
You know what boggles my mind about that comment that you just made, which is true, by the way, is the fact that they have to bring in somebody from Deloitte, which is probably going to charge them $300 an hour to tell them what they should already know.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'll charge half that price. I'll charge half that price. And I'll tell them exactly what to do. It's ridiculous.
Here's the reason why. Because Disney, the only thing they look at is the reports, and Marvel understands this. So they have total cost, like total revenue, total number of titles. They don't, or total units shipped. So they're looking, that's what Disney looks at. How many units shipped? How much did it cost? What was your profit? They don't know that it's taking them. They don't understand that what used to the total units moved that was done by 40 titles is now, it now takes 80 titles to do it. And their costs haven't gone up, but their cost per book has gone down to produce because they keep buying cheaper and cheaper creative talent. So that's all they're really seeing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because they have to get rid of 7,000 employees and have to make up for $5.5 billion in debt. So I think that's probably why they're going to hire some consultants, because it's just such a large mass of people and this large amount of debt that they have to have someone to come in and help with that, even if it is stuff that they already know. I think they just need an extra hand. Way more
than $5.5 billion in debt. They need to cut $5.5 billion in costs. They just want to spend $5.5 billion lots. Less.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I see a lot of people chiming in on the chat about IDW. IDW is not going anywhere. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to attractively position themselves to be bought. And
they've been doing that for
they've announced
years.
that like 2 years ago.
Yeah. So when you see their stock prices right now averaging, I think 60 cents. And it has been for over a month at this point, or 75 cents. Yeah, I think they're not urgently trying to do that because they want to make themselves look like a cheap, attractive sale. And I think they're not going to try real hard to do anything about that until they get sold. Now, after they get sold, Disney might come along and say, okay, now that you're under management with funding and you have people, let's see what we can do with that. But I think a partnership with IDW in the short term is probably very unlikely.
That nobody's going to buy them because they're still a worthless. They're a brand with no assets.
Well, lock and key.
Barely. They still have to share that asset with Joe Hill.
Or how is Wes, as a Star Trek fan, do you have any interest in buying any of the IDW's current Star Trek offerings?
Heather Ontos is the senior editor in charge of Star Trek. No.
Correct. Okay. They seem pretty horrible too from this far too. I haven't bought.
I've read a couple of them, and I made Doc read one. It wasn't very nice. So bad.
Thank you for taking that phaser for us.
But it's a company with no IP. Anybody can create a new company that does the exact same thing that IDW does tomorrow, and it doesn't cost them money to acquire it. All they do is go out and buy the exact same contracts that IDW already has. And you don't have to buy IDW to buy their licenses. You just buy their licenses from the license seller.
Well, I mean, IDW has had some successes. They've had, I think, 3 shows on Netflix so far. They had a sci-fi
that they lost, and they lost money on all of them.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles with The Last Ronin. That's doing pretty well.
I love your Transformers stuff, and I love Livio's The Kill Locks.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Well, except for I don't need a Transformers to explain to me how pronouns work. So if we can put that one aside.
No,
but you can go out. You can go out.
There's no such thing as a Transformer. Please stop. Please stop.
But anybody can call Hasbro tomorrow, and if they have enough money, they can buy a license for any of those products. You don't need to own IDW to get those things. That's my point. So the idea of, until IDW actually has IP as assets that anybody would want, No one's going to buy them. The IDW would be smarter to stop selling comics, let all of their contracts expire, and only make artists editions. Those are the only thing they really make money on.
And I bet you they made money on the last Ronin.
Okay, 1 5-issue series in like 6 years. You had 5 issues in 6 years that
they
made
make money on Sonic. People seem to like that comic.
Those artist editions, though, are amazing.
Yeah, in the old days, they made a lot of money on Sonic. They made a lot of money, I think it was in Mega Man, I think. Transformers did well for a period of time, the earlier Ninja stuff. But right, I mean, but that's exactly the point. IDW is like Image in the sense that they don't necessarily make a whole lot of the in-house stuff. It's a license out. The difference is IDW is more licensing for big corporate IPs rather than just individual creators.
Well, IDW is trying to become an entertainment company with like a media entity that was a production house.
Yeah, if you read their quarterly reports, they're all focused on movies and streaming and trying to create multimedia content, but nothing has landed. I mean, the only thing that's come close is Lock and Key. Vampire Nation got canceled first season. The October's canceled first season. So they just haven't been able to do things yet because they don't know how to curate the content that people want.
Hold on. No, you can't compare them to Image. Image gets paid to publish your book.
It's true.
IDW pays you to publish their book. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Image doesn't own anything outright.
Image owns nothing, but neither does IDW. But the metrics are all backwards. The person that owns the property has to publish it and pays Image to slap their banner on top and to do the distribution for them. In the case of IDW, they pay someone else for the privilege of publishing that book that they still have to pay the creators for too. That's
all right, do we have anything to say about the Marvel stuff?
Yeah, I was about to transition back there. I think a lot of us are hearing this news and we're wondering like, oh, how is this going to affect things creatively? If you look at the 4 main people that they cut, I think it was 4. It's all operational type stuff, and it's all things that definitely
completely redundant once they moved out of Marvel Entertainment into Disney.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, it's kind of like we expected this shoe to drop way sooner than it did. I don't know why it took as long as it did. Maybe they were trying to be nice throughout the early stages of COVID, but I think when 2018, 2019, whenever Feige was announced as kind of like overseeing everything, I think a lot of us expected this to happen shortly after that, and it didn't. And I also think it's a bad thing that a lot of people in leadership at Marvel have kind of just sat there twiddling their thumbs, waiting for something to happen instead of being like, you know what, there's a chance I'm going to get fired. I'm going to try to make sure I don't. Like, let me give my best work. I think a lot of them have been like, well, whatever, we're going to get cut anyways.
Better get my resume better.
Yeah,
better beef it up.
Right. But I mean, other than Perlmutter, you had like their chief legal counsel. Like Disney's gonna have better lawyers than Marvel had. Like, sorry, like bye, see you later. Like if you want to come on, maybe as one of our lawyers that we use, great. And then there's like someone dealing with the brand, like almost like a brand ambassador. I mean, no offense, but Marvel sucked at being a brand ambassador for a good while now. Nothing crazy here.
So, Josh, you wanted to talk about the Victoria Alonso stuff. Obviously, you weren't here last week. It's gotten a little bit deeper as the week has gone on. She's going to be suing the company. Apparently, she feels like she was silenced over the Florida stuff, even though the guy that supposedly silenced her is no longer with the company. And they're saying she breached contracts. They rewrote contracts. She breached them anyway. It's getting kind of dirty.
Yeah, I think Alonso's trying to make as much of a stink as possible, but I don't think she really has anything to stand on, any grounds to stand on. Because as we saw, like Disney kind of took a hit in Florida because of them trying to come up and stand. And look, here's the thing. It's fine if you want to have your own personal feelings. It's fine if you want to stand behind something and personally represent something. That is good. That is great. As a company, you have to be careful because whenever you start taking definitive leans in a political climate, either way, you're going to divide your audience. So, Disney can go and they can have a gay character if they want to, and they can just be like, hey, we're trying to make sure we have representation for everyone and everything. And they can leave it at that. But once you start opposing actual political leaders, you're getting in some murky waters. And she wanted to go all out, champion this LGBT stuff. Gideon. Sorry, that's Max's cat, Gideon, y'all.
Yeah, he had to make an appearance this morning.
I just, you know, I think at this point she's shown that she was not good at her job on multiple levels. Those of you that don't know, she was in charge of post-production. So all your CGI that you've been complaining about for a while, she's the one clearing all that. All these developers that are creating the CGI that have been complaining about Marvel, it's specifically her. They have people that are specifically pointing at her going, she has been the problem, was the problem, is the problem. So I think she's trying to save face, and she did breach contract. She made multiple films outside of Disney that she wasn't supposed to. Her contract doesn't allow it. And they even got onto her. They have written documentation of saying like, hey, you cannot do this again. We're allowing this one. Don't do it again. She did it anyways. She doesn't care. She didn't care. If you work for a company, especially one like Disney, they're going to expect that of you. Just do your damn job. And she didn't. That's my rant.
Right?
No, I'm here for it, man. I think, especially, I don't know if you guys have seen some, interviews with her, but she's openly talked about how, like, if it were between a romance and a superhero film, she wouldn't make the superhero film. And then, like, right after, she was like, "Oh, I'm probably going to get fired for that," or so, like something like that. It's a really ridiculous interview, but she's openly said like she doesn't care about this stuff. She wants to change it, and that's not doing your job. Like, she had a job to do, and a lot of the things that entailed, like, whether that was developing a film that cut out certain parts due to different audiences. Like, I think they were sending something to China or to the Middle East that she didn't make available to that like audience. That's not doing your job, so they had to source out that, edit to a different company, something like that. So I don't know. It's
also
better
said
that
she was changing like the powers of the heroes, but she wasn't telling the VFX people how it worked. So they would get this project and they would start on it, and then they would show it and be like, "No, that's not how we want it." They're like, "Well, how do you want it?" "I'm not really sure yet." Like, you probably should have figured that out before you sent it for the post-production stuff, where they can actually show the powers in work. You don't even realize how you want them to work or how they're going to interact with people on the screen. And she did set up a lot of people for failure, it sounds out. And it also did sound like she was belittling and kind of bullying people as well. Not surprising.
Yeah.
It just shows that, we months back, we were getting those articles of VFX artists just saying how awful those work conditions were. And that's what happens when you give someone that amount of power, that new title, but with no responsibility attached to it, or with no prior work experience to say that you deserve that title or that new raise. Because they just gave it to her, I think, in 2021 or something, or 2020, and that's exactly when we started seeing a lot of this stuff go downhill.
And you have to keep in mind, she's not just Marvel; she was all Disney. So every Disney production, she had her hands in with post production. Wes mentioned earlier that Bob Iger can be vindictive, and I don't know if it's so much vindictive as it is like, don't fuck up my work. And if you put a lot of time and attention in trying to build and grow something, and you see someone come in and just completely destroy it, in the case of Ike Perlmutter, it's been well over a decade of Ike Perlmutter pretty much opposing and going against him. So yeah, I can understand that. But I think he's kind of looked in at Chapek and Alonso as like, hey, you two are some like big failures here. Apparently, Kathleen Kennedy was called back into his office this past week, and it did not go well, and she quote unquote left pissed. And then she's even started apparently leaking things that she's not happy with. So I think Iger's coming in, and he, unlike Chapek, I think Iger's got a backbone to actually say, like, I don't care how much people love you. I don't care what you've done. If you start doing your job terribly, you're done. And I think he's holding people accountable, which is not a bad thing.
No,
he's
it's good.
Definitely being personal about it, because normally if you're fired from a Disney or whatever, you resign and they say, hey, we really appreciate this, and you get a nice big paycheck to go along with it. I think there's a reason specifically it says Ike Perlmutter fired in the headline.
Oh, yeah.
Victoria Alonso fired in the headline. Like, they wanted to make a point.
Yeah. Oh, and they even tried to be nice to Alonso at first by saying, it was a mutual separation, and then she came out and started complaining, so they came back out and said, no, actually she was fired, and here's why.
And to your point, Josh, about companies having to be really careful about who they back and what political thing they discuss, or what, political person that they want to back or talk about. Victoria Alonso was very outspoken about those types of political movements, ideologies, stuff like that. And so when she leaves, it looks really bad on Disney's part, you know, for a lot of these people who supported her and that ideology, because now they're saying, oh, well, Disney did this because they're trying to do, like, it's all a nightmare once you start getting too enveloped into the political side and ideological side of things, especially when you have someone like Victoria Alonso, who is, you know, on the red carpet, you know, talking incessantly about this stuff rather than the actual film itself.
I don't think Disney cared about any of that stuff. I think they would still have hired her today, even with all that stuff. Like, that's not the reason that they wrote her contract or any of the reasons that they've noted for firing her. I don't think they really cared about that. But she made herself just a big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, and then when your movies are flopping and people are constantly saying the same thing over and over and over again, wow, the effects really suck now. What happened? And then obviously in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you get MODOK for the first time. And it's like, oh my goodness. I know, Josh, you were a big fan of that ending with the whole
yeah. Look, MODOK is top tier Marvel. The only thing that could potentially compete with MODOK is She-Hulk. Fight me.
Oh no.
I will fight you to say that She-Hulk is worse than MODOK. Because at least MODOK's role was in the overall sense, you know.
Okay, I just had to figure out what context you're coming from. But
if you're talking about the little tiny naked MODOK butt, you know, that's we can put that. But at least that's brief. She-Hulk was an entire multi-episode series.
What do you
and that
think
CGI was terrible.
Yeah, but that was done before that she was into that job. That was all under Kevin Feige. She hadn't been promoted. That had been done with principal photography, I think, for 3 years, right?
No, it was before she was promoted to president, but she was still in charge of VFX, I thought.
She's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, she was still in charge of VFX, which is the CGI that you see in a lot of these shows. So, no. I'm not sorry to see her go. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, at all.
Is anyone sorry to see Ike Perlmutter go?
Not really.
I saw people in the comments like kind of defending him. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like he was wasting a chair.
I mean, that's kind of my thing. Is look, you know, Marvel's been, especially from the publishing division, has been like a shit show. Pre-Kevin Feige, pre-Disney, like, and that rests on Perlmutter's shoulders. He's the one that ultimately could come in and make a decision. He didn't. And I think a lot of people like to say Perlmutter is the reason that the MCU was so good all the way, because he got booted out while they were making Civil War. That's when he left the movie. That's when he got pushed out of the movie division. And he had some good ideas, but I think really you just had good people in there making decisions. You had Kevin Feige trying to do stuff, but you had your Jon Favreau's, you had your Joss Whedon, you had your Russo brothers, you had Marcus and McFeely, you had all really strong creative people all kind of firing on all cylinders, working, and now you don't have that synergy and that talent anymore. So I think it's more of that than Perlmutter. Again, Perlmutter.
You don't think he was the reason the Netflix Daredevil universe was good?
No. I think the people that were behind that were the reason why. And look, to give you an example, so part of the reason Iron Fist sucked so bad as a show is because they brought Scott Buck on to run that show. And Scott Buck coming on to run that show was 100% Ike Perlmutter. And he wanted Scott Buck because Scott Buck is known for doing things on time, which is a good thing, but for incredibly cheap. And Perlmutter is cheap as fuck. And to the point that Robert Downey Jr. has a huge issue with Perlmutter because of how cheap he is, because of the money he would allow for like events or red carpets and stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff with Perlmutter.
When he only allowed people one soda for free at the premiere for Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, but if you go through, and this is more movie side, the people that had issues with Perlmutter, it's like a long running list of Marvel people. And it's like when you have half of your talent in front of and behind the screen saying they don't want to do this anymore because they don't want to work with that guy, you get rid of that guy.
Yeah. But to bring it back to the original point, I mean, as far as how is this going to affect Marvel Comics specifically right now, probably not much. Not right now.
I assume
not
just because Buckley was retained and just moved under Feige like fully. He used to report to both Feige and Perlmutter. So I assume Buckley will just keep running it until they make a more substantial decision down the line.
Yeah, I think probably within the next 3 months, you'll see another small, tiny wave of layoffs again. And you'll probably kind of see this happen every couple of months over the next year to 2 years.
So I need to get this out there. I forgot. I wanted to say this at the beginning. Next Saturday, we're not going to be here.
What?
Actually, all the moms in my kids' play school are getting together, and we're doing an away trip to a beach. And we're going to have an overnight stay on Saturday.
Nice.
And Daddy's got to go.
nice.
So we're going to do the show on Sunday next week. Hopefully, we're going to have
Easter.
Aaron Sparrow.
You're gonna do it on an Easter Sunday?
We're going to do it, baby.
Awesome.
Oh boy.
Did you
Terrible.
hear? He has
down.
risen.
I was about to say, whoa.
Next week's Easter.
Yeah,
Next
we can
Sunday's
get
Easter
Breen
Sunday.
and probably Aaron Sparrow on the show
Gotta
on
get
Easter
my-
Sunday.
I gotta get my mother flowers. Jesus.
Sunday
It's
night.
Easter.
So we'll see how it works. But I will not be here Saturday, guaranteed, because I'm going to be at the beach with my kids having a good time.
Nice.
Jeez, Gabe, why don't you just piss my Cheerios while you're at it?
Aw.
Sorry.
From the guy that brought you Predator #1 is amazing.
Why
Oh,
does that
boy.
keep coming up? Why does that keep coming up? The first issue wasn't that terrible. Why does people keep bringing that up?
Not
Because
that terrible.
you
You
ha-
gave it like a 9.
I just
Come on.
I just want to know why Wes doesn't have faith in us to just run a Thinking Critical on Saturday without him, like have a full on like jabroni takeover.
Uh-oh.
All in favor of having all in favor of Doc running the show next week. Say aye.
The only
Aye.
person I would trust to do that is Skip and Tosh, because he might be able to keep you dickheads in line. I don't even know if Skip can do that.
Why don't you
Hey,
get
we
Little
did-
Jay to do it while you're at it?
I remember about a year in, we did Aficionados After Dark because
Uh-huh.
Wes couldn't do the show for a couple of weeks around Christmas.
How'd that turn out?
It was who was it?
It was
That
fine. I think it was Stacks.
It was
Wes-
real comic stacks. The guy was
Yeah.
Wes would come back and just see all the live streams, and they're all
great.
demonetized.
No, he wasn't on my
demonetized,
channel. It was on
demonetized.
Stacks' channel.
Oh, okay.
He didn't know how to spell aficionados. It was hilarious.
Yes. It was,
Be in the title, yeah.
but we didn't give a fuck.
I will. To be fair, there have been times that I've written or typed aficionados and been like, "Wait, did I spell that right?" Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
yeah, and keep going.
I misspelled Perlmutter in my video this week.
It's aight.
Somebody notified me within the first hour. Thankfully, we got it fixed. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure what's happening next week. We're gonna shoot for something, but I won't be here on Saturday. We'll see what we could do. We do have some comments from the great folks watching. CR Comics says, I met Livio Ramondelli yesterday at C2E2. Super nice guy, and even got a quick sketch of one of the Killlock characters. Thanks again for recommending. Well, I'm glad you checked out that comic book because it's absolutely amazing. Eric, you checked it out too?
Yeah, it was one of the comics that I was reading right about lockdown 2020. Got issues. I'm missing issue 4 because of the disruption in services
That's the best
around
issue they
that
made.
time. And yeah, I know the crew that was. There was a part in the back of it where you had this interview with Dr. Andrea Linamendi, and does a really awesome podcast. It's called the Arkham Sessions. They psychologically analyze every episode of Batman the Animated Series. She's a licensed psychologist and a complete nerd and geek, just like us. It's great. If you ever want to watch the show, it makes a great companion piece, the Arkham Sessions. And that they turned me on to Livio because they're friends in real life. And I'm like, oh my God, look at this art. Following Livio on Twitter, it will make your Twitter timeline so much more enjoyable. The guy is bottled awesome, and he shares his art like all day. Go for it.
Yeah, I thought about getting him on the channel, but I don't really know the guy. But
Cool.
Not
reach
everyone
out.
likes my interviews. I don't
You
know.
got Mark Millar for freak's sake. I mean, geez, you're in the big leagues now.
That was a good one, wasn't it? I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Why don't you get Joe Quesada to come on and talk about Amazon?
No thanks. Callum
He's-
says,
He's
do
been
you
in the
think
chat.
Sana
before.
Amanat will go? I'm pretty sure Sana Amanat's been gone for like over a year now. That's what I was told. So
Sama
Take that with
Amanat I think her effect and her influence over
The
Marvel
Amanat
was
effect.
overblown, partly by her fault, right? Because she put herself out there and made herself look like a big deal. But honestly, I think that was more smoke and mirrors than actual, behind the scenes effectiveness. So
Well-
whether she's here or not, I think doesn't matter that much.
Well, I think the reason why nobody knows is because nobody's watched the Women of Marvel videos in like 4 years. So they have like 6 views on their channel. Nobody knows.
What?
Maybe she's still
No,
there.
I'm pretty sure. Like I'm certain that she's been gone for well over a year.
I believe.
Off
so, too.
topic. Do you think Shang Chi should be race swapped to Japanese or his mother's side? Take advantage of manga and Japanese popularity.
West
I don't know.
Shang-Chi.
No, I don't think they should do that to Shang Chi.
Yeah.
Well, his mom was Caucasian in the comic book.
Not
He's half
anymore.
white. Yeah. Canonically.
But
And Carrie from Nerdy Girl Creates reminded me about that last year or so. She was like, no. Shang-Chi's mom was Caucasian. And she throws up the old.
They just
page.
introduced like 5 new Japanese characters
Yeah,
within
plus,
the last
you would
4
have to
years.
you'd have to change his name. Like, it's not a Japanese name.
Yeah, so I don't think they should do that. That's just me personally. Dill Lindsay. Hello, everyone. Prediction. John will beat Ultraman with forgiveness because for whatever reason, Tom Taylor takes pride in not having action in the action-based medium that is comic books. I heard the first issue was action.
Yeah, the John Kent actually punches somebody.
What?
So I don't know. Tom Taylor's had a change of heart, but I can tell you that Ultraman and John, their confrontation is very final, and it is not at all a soft, touchy-feely ending to their conflict.
There you go. He's not going to beat him with the power of friendship. No Care Bear stare or any of that stuff.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it definitely comes to a final ending.
I've heard that the first issue of that miniseries was better than the entire rest of the stuff that preceded it. But
It was
I didn't
okay. There are a lot of plot holes, but it's okay.
Hey, I'll take plot holes if it's just not an LGBT coming of age story.
What? How dare you? I'm so offended.
Big
I know
A.
you're offended.
I will spoil this much. Issue number 2, there is a very loving kiss between John and his boyfriend.
Out. Done.
Whatever.
I hope Jay leaves
Josh is
John
out.
for Bernard, and there's like a huge love triangle. And
You love
We just
Hexagon.
We just
got
reviewed
spoilers
Robin
still.
number 7.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
true. I did make him do that. It'll be a review tomorrow or Monday. Mr. Greedbones, my question is how many Disney animators and writers insult their fans on Twitter? None I can think of. I hope that goes towards the writers and artists of Marvel going forward. Slotted is patient 0.
Yeah, you don't see that because Disney actually holds people accountable to the contracts that they sign and their policies. And Marvel has kind of been getting away with doing some of this crap because your writers half the time aren't actually employees. But even Disney has it set up that their contractors they hire have to follow these rules. So you're probably going to see people kind of get in line.
They're certainly freaking out this week. I got a video on that as well. People like losing their minds on social media. Callum says, have you seen MODOK for the Avengers game?
no, I haven't. Is it
Are
good?
you talking about the Avengers game that was really a Miss Marvel game? The one that already
Assuming that's
like
Was it
Talking about.
the Square Enix game?
the one that everybody stopped playing like 3 weeks after
The
it
Miss
came out?
Marvel game? The Miss Marvel game was wicked pissa, dude. It can make me the
Did you like
emotional
MODOK?
experience of. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that's a collective no.
No.
Yeah, nobody did because they all got bored of that game before they ever got to MODOK.
We got Lee Burns live from the UK. Very nice. Hopefully he's having like one of those meat pies. I miss the meat pies from the UK, but not the spotted dick. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, that's good.
Caleb says the people who wrote the scripts for She-Hulk wrote with their tampons. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. There we go.
Well, the executive producer on She-Hulk is currently the writer of Amazing Spider-Man, so that should tell you something.
Bam. HH, the guys from Sigma Comics. Shoutouts from MegaCon. I discussed understanding conflict in comics with Jim Shooter. In the 80s, he set up boxing matches between his staff. He sparred Ron Wilson. Editors were much tougher. That feels like a Jim Shooter thing to do, doesn't it, Doc? Oh, you guys don't like each other? Put the gloves on. We're going to make it real.
Yeah, Jim
Huh?
Shooter was the equivalent of a Pittsburgh area high school gym teacher in the 60s. He's about the age of my dad, and that's probably what happened whenever he was in high school in West Mifflin. Oddly enough, I'm wondering if my dad went to school with him now. That's actually a good question. I should ask my dad. They're about the same age. They both lived in the same area. Huh. Just dawned on me. Holy shit. But yeah, no, that's what the gym teacher would have done when kids got in fights back then. That's what their high school gym teacher did. They'd make them put on boxing gloves and fight. and nobody was leaving that gym until one of you wasn't standing up or until you both gave up. So yeah, that's the most gym shooter thing to do.
It's also the most HH thing to do. You know what you should do if HH wants to box you, Doc? Politely decline and hope he doesn't make you do it anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm leaning.
I'll tell you right now, I would pay money to see HH in a sparring match with Jordan White.
Ooh, that would be nice.
I would pay money. I would pay cash money for that.
So MegaCon, that's Orlando, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The
If you're in the Orlando area and you're going to go visit MegaCon, definitely check out HH and the guys from Sigma Comics. They will definitely sell you on a couple of issues of Here Comes Calico and all that good stuff. Really appreciate those guys supporting us. Thank you so much. Johnny G and Boogie, what will Marvel Comics be like in 3 to 5 years?
Completely unreadable.
It's got to be better, right?
A licensing company.
It could be a licensing company.
It'll be an IP farm.
Reprints.
You pretty much guarantee it'll be very different than what you have today.
Mhm.
Which is not a bad thing.
It'll be a licensing company bilking a bunch of smaller publishers out of their money because they're going to charge way too much for properties that they can't sell. And until the idiots in the comic industry, because let's be honest, most of them are not good businessmen, keep running out of money doing it, they'll just keep bouncing from publisher to publisher until there's nobody left to license the books.
Jeez, that's very bleak, Doc. Lane Kramer, has anyone read Clobber Time #1 and how was it?
I loved it.
Not yet. I'm gonna pick it up because everyone's raving about it. I'll take a chance.
I loved it.
I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but Gabe and I might be talking about that one on Best of the Week. Might be one of the #1 issues we're hitting this week.
Yep.
Ooh.
The art's great. If you like the thing, I think it's a good comic book for you.
Yeah.
Steve Scroach absolutely brings the heat on that one. Terrence Bernard. Y'all saw that cryptic Brevoort tweet Perch retweeted?
Yes.
Nah. What was it?
All
It was
that's left to do,
basically saying, "Hey,
I'm
is
going
it
to
time for me
literally quote it.
disappear now?"
I'm going to literally quote it. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All that's left to do is run. That is exactly what Brevoort said. So,
Yikes.
basically, he get away, run away. All
I
that's
mean, he
left
could
to
be
do is
talking
run.
about a dog that he's mad at. He could be talking about his wife.
It could be talking about the fact that he's a fat fuck and needs to get on the treadmill.
Could be that. It could be talking about Marvel Comics and what's
That could be
happening
me.
behind the scenes.
Look, I just thought it was funny that out of all this and some of these Marvel people freaking out, you had Dan Slott freaking out, but he's freaking about his little check mark on Twitter.
Hey, Josh,
I
he
had that
offers
idea.
free content, okay, on Twitter.
He drives people to Twitter.
Dan Slott makes Twitter better. Don't you know
He's
that?
the straw that stirs the Twitter drink. You know what I'm saying?
This man
Yeah.
makes a profit off of me. Oh, God.
Gallup says, yes, that's the game. Look up his design. He's talking about the MODOK thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look it up. Avengers video game MODOK.
MODOK. Enter.
Let's
Well,
see.
it certainly looks way better than the movie. Yeah, they should have put that character into the movie. It would have been more successful.
Dude, share
Dan
it. Come
Slott
on,
needs to smoke. Dan Slott
come on,
needs to
put it
smoke
up on the
grass.
screen.
I don't
Share
want
it
to put it
out.
up on the screen because then I have to save it, and then I have to load it up, and that's steps, Doc. I ain't got that
So
time.
many clicks. So many clicks.
But
Boo.
it's he definitely looks a lot more dangerous and villainous in the one that made the movie. Rami Salami, this chat slaps. Like Deadpool's new relationship. I took the under for Alyssa doing it before issue 3, so I guess I'll eat the crow. Alyssa Wong's Deadpool isn't terrible.
The first issue wasn't terrible. After that, it went downhill pretty quick.
I thought this chat was Yeet.
I thought this chat was
Josh?
fire.
Is it Yeet or slaps?
No,
Um,
he is different than Slap.
I thought yeet meant something like getting out of here.
Yeah, like you get yeeted.
You get
Yeah.
slapped away or something like that.
Yeah, but
Are they not like synonyms or something? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Saying something
lit.
slaps is like, yo, this is the bomb. Like
Yeah.
this slaps.
Yo, this is
awesome.
fire. Yeah.
Yeet
that
is lit.
shit is tight.
Off the hook?
Off the
That's
cuff.
fire.
Off the cuff? No, off the
Off
hook.
the hook.
Oh.
Off the top turnbuckle.
I'm feeling older by the second with this conversation.
Audi 5000.
Gabe, I heard someone say Riz, R-I-Z the other day.
Oh, that's the new
and I
one.
was
Riz
like,
is the new one. Yeah.
I was like, what the F is Riz? And I guess it means like your charisma, your vibe, your like, and
I'm Riz. Boom, baby, I got his face, yo.
Calm down, Grandpa.
Riz on Wes.
Wes is like, I got the Riz.
But it's usually used in like in a romantic sense, like between how
Right.
somebody
I got the Riz there
I
too.
don't
Just
know.
ask the wife.
like I don't want to know
Got all
about
the
your
right
Riz.
moves.
Wes is gonna start doing shorts. He's gonna be like, "What's up, young kids? What's
Brother
going
man.
on? I got the Riz." Yeah,
I'm just
Around the
waiting
world.
for the day
Doing
that
shorts
like
now.
this younger generation that's coming up with all these slang terms, getting their mid 30s, and they're in like an office job and trying to sell investments, and they're like, "Yeah, this is probably the best one for you, no cap."
I don't know, man. I just learned Yinzer 3 weeks ago, and now I'm learning slaps and yeet.
Yinzer has been a term for 100 fucking years.
Yeah, Yeet's been around a while. How have you not heard that one?
I don't really watch American TV. I don't watch fucking any of that, like, what is it, reality TV stuff you watch.
I don't know.
I watch Star Trek. Right now, I'm watching Ancient Apocalypse. What do you watch?
The only reality stuff I watch is The Curse of Oak Island, one of my favorites. So that's it.
Bullshit. You got reality written all over you, and maybe
Oh.
you don't put it on, but you watch it with your wife.
Wes, I am right there with you with Ancient Apocalypse.
It's
And
It's
Clarkson's
so good.
Farm. Clarkson's Farm. That show is hilarious. You need to watch that show.
now we're all right, bro.
Off topic.
The chat's cool. Can we just use the old school?
Yes.
well, in the '90s, wasn't it bad was cool? So like, man, this chat is bad right
Because
now.
I'm bad. I'm bad.
Yeah,
Hey.
there you go.
I just still use dope and rad. So
Yeah,
fuck
the
it.
chat's dope, yo. Lade says, so
dope.
this week will we find out those kids are MJs?
Maybe. Maybe.
Uh-oh.
We'll
see.
That's weird. Why are you trying to bring down the atmosphere, bro?
Yeah, thanks,
She's-
Lane.
Because she's now a time traveling hoe.
Oh my goodness, Doc.
Well, she would have
She
had.
better be a restaurant quality hoe. You know what I'm saying? There's old school saying, right? Restaurant quality.
Yep.
Look, so here's the challenge with Amazing Spider-Man. I wrote up a synopsis that explains what's happening, and it took up multiple paragraphs. I put that on Twitter. Some of you might have seen it, and it gave every reaction was like, "I have a headache after reading this." It's like, yeah. But I concede that explanation might be wrong. It might be wrong if Romita Jr. screwed up on the art, because if he screwed up on the art, he completely scuttled the entire plot of that storyline. So if he did it wrong, that series might be in big trouble. So
We had another thing happen just in the last week. I guess Jonathan Majors, who stars as Kang, I believe he was also in the Creed movie. He was arrested and everyone freaked out, Josh. I personally didn't make a video because I was like, I don't know, man. Whenever you get arrested, they throw out as many charges that they can on you. Then the truth comes out. There's always two sides to every story. What do you think? Is he a bad guy? What happened here?
I mean, look, here's the deal. This isn't circulated in the
Is this
media
the
yet,
straight
but
eat?
it's gonna come out soon. What happened was they were in the car. They had just gotten some food. He had gotten some Church's chicken. She tried to take his 2-piece and a biscuit, and he punched the hoe. I'm kidding. That's not what happened.
No. He didn't punch. He didn't punch her. He yeeted her.
He yeeted her.
He yeeted her right out of the passenger seat.
Just like he yeeted his career with that fight. So
to be serious, like Wes, I congratulate you for not jumping on this bandwagon of clickbaiting.
Josh?
Let me get this out here.
Doc tried to
Bullshit.
make me make a video. What did I say, Doc?
Yeah, you said wait.
Yeah,
I said I don't even know what I could say right now. What did
Yeah.
what am I
everything's
supposed to do?
allegedly, and like that came out one day. The next day, it was like there started becoming more evidence refuting it, and throughout the weekend, it was just like more and more evidence started coming out refuting it. Apparently, there's video that proves he hasn't done anything. There's written testimonies backing him, saying he didn't actually do anything wrong. One of them was the driver. One of them were bystanders that were on the side of the street. The girl who has since claimed that he assaulted her has come back, recanted her statements. People were like, oh, that's because they're giving her hush money. And it's like there's text messages in between the two now saying, like, I'm sorry, I didn't do this. It's been proven that she was having a mental breakdown and got sent to like a mental asylum for a little bit, or to get help. I don't want it to come across too terrible. She went to get some mental support. for her mental health because she was having a mental breakdown, a psychotic break.
doesn't?
So there's a lot of things coming out kind of saying like, hey, he's not actually the bad guy here. And it's to the point that a lot of people were actually surprised that the DA put charges out there. So we'll see. But it looks like he's not a bad guy.
Either way, I still think this this definitely hurts his appearance, though, because like you said, Josh, whether it is hush money or whether it actually was her making false claims and stuff, now people have a preconceived notion of John Majors, and some people will never be able to get rid of that. And
this is 100%.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be the guy who's going to carry the next MCU phase. So it's
hey, if he really leans into it, he can pull the supervillain card. He was method acting.
No. I was Kang.
No, but still, seriously, no. Look, most of this shit ends up turning out to be he said, she said, and it looks like she even said, like, yo, dude, this didn't happen. I'm trying to get them to, I don't want them to press charges. I'm telling them I don't want to press charges. The text messages probably made it worse for the DA. And because there's timestamps on them and they're relatively soon thereafter, like before hush money could have possibly really kind of come into play.
Wait, Wes, Doc. Are you saying the district attorneys in New York go after high-profile people for arrests to make a name for themselves?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm really shocked. There's a certain orange guy right now seeing this. And
are you saying there's a hidden agenda behind their actions in the New York DA office?
No, I would never, ever, thank you, Chris Jericho, say that.
Oh boy. That's interesting. All right. It reminds me of the whole thing. Let's look at Superman #1 just for a second. Politicians and beating up corrupt politicians. Those were criminals pretending to be politicians. So it's like, so when people say like, oh, there's always been politics in the Superman magazine, I'm like, no.
It was still criminals.
So it's like you have criminals, as in public office. It's as old as dirt. It's been going on for all of humankind.
Right? So no, I mean, look, patience always ends up being the best course of action in a lot of these cases. Now sometimes it's, if we're patient, we get to see what the cover-up is, but for the most part, especially with these sensationalist celebrity stories, look, these people are kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. And they often say stupid things or put themselves in stupid positions because they think that their celebrity status makes them, I don't know, invincible.
Immune.
And immune. And they don't realize that most of this shit, this is the kind of shit that happens to people all the time. But the only reason it's a front page story is because the guy's currently kind of, I mean, let's be honest, he's a mostly nobody actor that recently started becoming more well-known. He's a little bit of and no, please don't take this the wrong way. It's kind of like the Jussie Smollett from the sensationalist side, where he was up and coming actor that was going somewhere. Now, granted, it's a whole completely different situation. He seems like he's definitely on the wrong end of this. But he's kind of, it was a question of, is he going to become, what's his name from The Flash, or
Ezra Miller?
Ezra Miller, yeah. Is he going to be Marvel's Ezra Miller? The irony there was, it was going to be funny. If that was the case, it would still suck, but it'd be funny. It would be, hey, let's watch Phase 5 blow up even more in their face. But no, it looks like guy's just in a shitty situation.
And let's be honest, let's take a look at the bottom line on this one. Unless he's, falling out of that cab with a bloody fist and a dead body in the back seat, this is a salacious news cycle that's going to fill up a couple weeks, and then nobody's going to care. I mean, unless it's something really egregious where Marvel had no choice but to let him go because they just couldn't deal with somebody who was in the middle of a crime scene, it's going to go on fine. Most of this is like Twitter nonsense and the headline of the week. People are going to forget about it in a few weeks unless something comes out of it that's really, unavoidable. And then just life was going to go on. I mean, it's heat of the moment, but honestly, this is probably not going to affect anything long term.
And the trial isn't even supposed to be until May, so we still have another month before we even really see or hear anything from the trial. So
if it even makes it to trial,
it'll never make it.
Yeah, that's
even
true.
if it makes it there.
How she recanted her statement.
She did, and she even went to the DA to say I do not support any of these charges. There's written testimony there. Someone mentioned they haven't released the video. They're not going to until things get tied up. But
TMZ gets a hold of it.
Well, yeah, that's true. But Max made a comment. I think this could be damaging for him no matter what, and I agree. There's always going to be an audience out there that's going to be vocal and loud, just saying he and they'll have their theories on what actually happened. So I think at some point, release the video, release the 911 call, because he's the one that called, concerned about her, and then go from there. But I think if anything, this is a lesson in be patient and wait for all the facts to come out. And I think we're starting to see this shift because we've had so many years of just believe the victim.
And then they turn out to be a liar.
Yeah.
Dude,
Shocking.
Speaking of victims, have I ever told you guys about the Tracy special?
The Tracy special?
The Tracy
Is that kind of like the fastball special?
No, it's my mom. Her name is Tracy. When I was a kid, whenever she would break up with a guy and I knew it was final, she'd pull out the Tracy special. That's when she'd be screaming at him. She'd be like, get the fuck out of my house. And then finally, the guy would be like, all right, I don't want to do this again. So he'd get in the car. And then the second step is she would take a garden hoe. And as he was trying to back out, she'd start beating the hood with it and poking holes in it with a garden hoe. And if you didn't back out, she would hit your windshield and throw a big hole in there. And then as you were driving off, she would tell everyone in the neighborhood, because everyone was outside, that you had a tiny dick. And that's when I knew the relationship was over and it could never be fixed.
Never saw Bobby again.
No, there's I see that happen 4 times. It's a Tracy special.
The Tracy special sounds familiar to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say Tracy special sounds very familiar to California women.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in an outside way, that story somehow makes the relationship between you and Doc make more sense.
I've never told Doc he had a tiny dick.
Not publicly.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, if you ever see the Tracy special, it was a sight to behold. And it sounds like Jonathan Majors might have gotten some of the Tracy special on that one. I don't know.
And those text messages, those text messages, some of them, the first ones were but those second ones felt so inauthentic and just completely pasted by a lawyer. It was really odd.
You know who else has got stories like that is Aaron Sparrow. One day we're going to do the Mother's Day special where we're going to start comparing stories of moms.
Aaron's got some incredible ones. Yeah,
absolutely. Sounds like AL would like to hear it.
Oh, you know what? In that case, you'll have to have my girlfriend on in place of me. She's got those stories too.
About you?
No, not about me. About her mom.
You've got a loose pussy. Everyone knows it.
Oh no.
Yeah, just have her on in my spot and she can tell you stories about her mother.
Very fun stuff.
Do it on Mother's Day.
Absolutely. It's going to be a Mother's Day special. We've been planning it for over a year now.
Mother's jokes and everything. Come, bring
my
the kids.
My mother is a saint. She is a saint.
Callum says, lesson, don't believe all women, especially the ones that wait 15 years. Also, I didn't know the guy's name until the movie came out. You want to be understanding when there are allegations, but you definitely need to trust but verify and figure out that everything is correct. And then maybe, there's two sides. Actually, there's 3 sides to every story. One side, this side, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle, normally. So, yeah.
Wes, I'm sure in your time in active duty, you had plenty of your young guys with, scenarios. You'd be getting calls in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. Oh, this kid got in this fight with this girl, and you always kind of got to find that middle ground and see what actually happened. But yeah, this stuff happens all too often.
I was an amazing barracks attorney. You want to feed me a line of shit? I will
believe
walk
that.
you right through why your story does not make any sense whatsoever, sir. I
Absolutely.
will find every hole in it. And I was like, are you sure you want to stick with this one? 'Cause we're just
you can
talking
dismantle
now.
it.
We haven't
Yeah.
written anything down yet, buddy. You sure you
Yeah.
don't want to change this one up a little bit? Nothing
Mhm.
you're saying is making any sense. Caleb says, remember Johnny Depp? Poor
Oh.
guy. I think he was in Edward Scissorhands.
21 Jump Street, the original. He was pretty good. He had potential.
I mean, the funny part
Where'd
about
that guy
Johnny Depp,
go?
yeah, Johnny Depp is no saint. I think
Absolutely
sometimes
not.
we get lost in the taking sides argument. I mean, he definitely had some struggles, especially when he drank too much. He was not a nice person to be around, and all kinds of problems. So when you have a problem, when you have somebody who has a problem, and they get themselves around another person who also has problems, disaster almost invariably will follow. So, yeah, I mean, there were definitely some misstatements made by Miss Heard about what was going on. And those have been proven to be false. Yeah, I mean, Depp somewhat got himself into his own problems on it by making bad choices as well. So he wasn't 100% a saint, and I think just people need to keep that perspective.
Well, agreed. I think the point was, I mean, there's plenty of people that are in film right now that haven't been saints. I think the point was that he lost so many big projects because he was essentially having another resurgence for his career. And he lost so many big projects right there without anything
Kicked
really
out
coming
of
to light.
the Harry Potter stuff. They started to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
Yep.
So he definitely got it bad. Caleb also says, I don't know anything about Kang. Also, he hasn't made his entrance the same way Thanos did, and I wanted to know more about him when I saw it. They definitely did a better introduction to Thanos than they did with Kang. I don't think Loki was the right place to do it.
No, especially and especially the way they did it, and the fact that they're like, nope, there's a bunch of different Kangs. It doesn't make him important.
Well, also getting defeated by Ant-Man
Yeah,
in his first movie was probably not the way
gets
to go.
gets defeated essentially, sort of, by Loki, then gets defeated by
Yeah, but that was
Ant-Man.
like a minor version of Kang. The one that was beating Ant-Man is supposed to be the bad one.
I understand that, but you still, for normies out there, they're all essentially sort of the same character, and so watching him be basically schooled by Loki, and then the tougher version gets schooled by Ant-Man, and you're like, what the fuck kind of a threat's this guy?
There are two scenes in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that I wish you could pull out of that movie and insert somewhere else. And it's one where Ant-Man's in Kang's prison, and Ant-Man's pretty much threatening. I mean, Kang's pretty much threatening him, what he's going to do, how he's going to ruin Ant-Man's life if he doesn't do what he wants him to do. That's an excellent scene, and it kind of sets Kang up for who he is. And there's another part where Janet is like, Kang's trying to get out of the quantum realm, and she's trying to stop him. And she says, what are you going to do if you get out? And his answer is win. So, and for me, I was like, that's excellent. But then everything else sucked. So
you also have to consider, like the first Avengers film, what the end credit scene was when we finally see Thanos's face, like he turns and he's on that throne or whatever. And like, that was the Avengers film. That was like a culminating event. That was a huge moment for the MCU. And now we get Kang and Loki. Like, how many people watched that? And then Ant-Man, how many people watched Ant-Man? So it's like they're setting him up for failure by putting him in inconsequential films and TV shows when he should be at the, at the end scene of a large, I guess I wouldn't say end game, but something to that level to where a lot of people have seen him now at this point. But yeah,
and I think that's the big frustration is the way they set up Kang. Instead of making him a foreboding threat that will eventually need to be addressed, they made him seem like a middling kind of villain in Loki. Mm-hmm. Even if you look at the way he was dressed and his mannerisms, I think I read an interview with Jonathan Majors where he said he drew a lot on he went to a clown college for doing, kind of theatrical body movements and just the way he places his body and just kind of feeling how he fills out the space. And he said he used a lot of that clown college mannerisms in the way he presented himself in Loki. And you can see it, the way he sits, the way he poses himself. It's sort of almost comical or just sort of cartoonish in that way. And he used a lot of that. So he established Kang. Your very first exposure to Kang was very, I won't say non-threatening, but just not a big threat. I mean, a sort of a middling threat. And so that carries over. And then the second part of that is the movies right now, the MCU movies, are acting way too much like sequels to the Disney Plus show. You saw that with Quantumania. You saw that with Doctor Strange 2. You're seeing a lot of these pieces where they're not just saying, well, there's helpful and expensive information in Disney Plus. It's a direct sequel to that show that maybe you did or did not watch.
Exactly.
And that's a mistake, in my opinion, because they're tying it too closely. And in some cases, they're not giving the movies enough of a chance to stand on their own because they're pulling too much from what came before.
Also, where are the physical media copies of these Disney Plus shows? I mean, they're not being produced. How does this fit in with my pre-existing Blu-ray and DVD collections? Because I can't buy this to watch at home, like to put on my shelf. I have a collection. I love my Avengers movies. I've got all the Caps, all the Iron Men, the Avengers. I got like a personal curation. I omit the ones I didn't like, and I would or like my Star Wars collection. I'm never going to get that Clone Wars, the last season, to go with my pre-existing Clone Wars. It's the same mentality. Where do we fit this as collectors?
You can if you buy a DVD burner. And have some fun with Photoshop.
I love it. I will say, I think the impression of Kang would be very different if Kang actually like mopped the floor with Ant-Man and team and the Resistance. I think people would be less critical of Kang as a character in the MCU right now, but they didn't do that, so they're screwed.
If they'd ended that film where Kang essentially killed Hank Pym and killed everybody except maybe Scott and left him, beaten up and bloody, and he just barely got away with his life, it would be a very different conversation about Kang.
100%.
Yeah.
RateTech7 says, instead of blaming all women, we should listen, take seriously, and investigate all accusations. Absolutely.
Agreed. I think that, and not even just women, everyone, investigate shit.
Absolutely. So that happened. We also got, this just came out within the last 24 hours. This is a Josh special. We're getting a new Batman and Robin series from Joshua Williamson. Obviously, he was writing Robin before. I guess Mark Waid kind of took the character and put him in that Batman versus Robin miniseries. He's writing Superman now. He's got Green Arrow, and he's got Batman and Robin. He's got like all the big characters now.
Good for him.
Come on, Batman aficionado.
Yeah, I mean, look, I liked the Robin series. I thought it was a hell of a lot of fun. When Wes
You're talking about Tim Drake? You're talking about Tim Drake, Robin?
No,
right?
no. How dare you? How dare you, sir? Back when Wes and I would do the This Week in Batman, like we looked forward to getting Robin because we knew we would at least enjoy it. So that is a plus side of this. But if I'm going to be honest, I don't have much faith because I think since then we've seen some and the whole like Lazarus Planet thing for me just didn't hold up very well. I don't know. And it seems like they're trying to go for some random stuff. Like one of the things DC is pushing really hard behind this title is this whole like, oh, and it's the first appearance of the Robin Mobile. Like, oh my God, let me go buy this. I'm so excited. There's a Robin. I've waited my entire life, except I haven't because Robin's had a car before. One, the most famous one is the Redbird, but he's actually had a Robin Mobile before. There's nothing new. There's nothing excited. This isn't gonna like sell some freaking comics. And we just had a piss poor person hop in the chat named Placid Phoenix. So the stream's ruined now.
My goodness.
Just kidding.
Well, I thought they were making Damian Wayne being set up like as a villain moving forward. That's why he was fighting his dad and all that stuff. It feels like they keep going to this line and backing off.
Yeah. I mean, look, we say that we keep having conversations that they don't know what to do with these characters, and it's all with different characters. Like DC just doesn't know what they want to do at all, and they're like all over the place.
Now apparently they're buddies again.
What's the probability this series announcement came about because of the James Gunn announcement?
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
100%.
So if it wasn't for James Gunn, I don't think this would even be happening right now.
Yeah, and look, there's I was gonna say there's a good chance they probably separated from some original plans that Williamson had concerning Robin to try to go a different route. Oh, I hit my mic, sorry. To try to go a different route. And then now with this announcement, they're like, oh, we need to get these two together. They're going to be together in the film. There needs to be some synergy. And they're like, hey, Williamson had some ideas. So there we go.
I thought we were going to get this really cool Robin series with him and Flatline and Connor Hawk and all these good characters that they'd introduced.
If only. If only.
Not like Teen Titans or whatever, but, Damian Wayne's Titans were a little bit darker.
You want to have some fun? We start up a new series with Damian Wayne and Connor Hawk and call it the New Birds of Prey.
I wouldn't do that. But it would be
that would be fun on multiple levels.
It could be a fun modern day take on hard travel heroes, but it's in two younger heroes kind of learning their way. You know what I'm saying? Kind of discovering their own path.
But they have bird names, Josh. You're missing it.
Yeah, I get it, but people would be like, "It's not women."
Exactly.
They got bird names, and it'll be a romance comic about them trying to get dick. I meant Grayson. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you?
It would be the all new, all different Birds of Prey.
We'll call it the all new, all better Birds of Prey. How's that?
There you go. Yeah.
Bestest Birds of Prey ever.
All new, all got Birds of Prey.
Yep.
I'm just surprised that DC actually put Joshua Williamson on the title, because if you look at some of the Marvel solicitations, they have these grand ideas and then no creators attached to the solicitations. So if you're looking at a lot of different Marvel titles, they have Venomverse, no creators. And so they're like, oh, okay. All right. So
it's
hey,
AI,
at least
AI generated plots.
It's Venomverse by Chat GPT. Yeah. But yeah,
that's because the only one writing worth a damn for Venom over at Marvel is Donny Cates, and he's still lost his mind. So they don't even know if he's going to get him back or not.
So I at least
removed.
Yeah. I at least pride DC for at least putting a creator on their series before they, release the solicitation for it. So
even if the creator.
The other troubling aspect is, they put this all on Williamson. Williamson seems to be the go-to guy for the past year over at DC. That was Lazarus Planet. That was him with Mark Waid. Dark Crisis. That was all Williamson.
Infinite Frontier.
And what we've seen, the big criticism we've had about Williamson over and over again is that he struggles to stick the landing.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever he's starting up, it'll start great. But if it doesn't seem to go anywhere, or if it has to have an ending, the odds are that it's going to have a strong ending that everybody's going to be talking about in a positive way is kind of not great. So good for him for getting more work. But at the same time, if you're saying this is the writer that's going to lead us into the future, I'm not seeing it.
I think they've made a bad choice. I just don't see him ever being a headlining guy. I think he's a guy that works on your B and C tier characters that isn't going to drop the ball and that can go in there and team up with your A tier writer and hold his own.
Yeah, agreed.
But he's not the main event.
No, not at all. He is the guy that takes your what you're saying, your B, C, D list characters and gives them something somewhat substantial to have validity for that character. But he's not capable of.
But Johns is only there part time. Scott Snyder is obviously gone. Bendis is gone. Yeah. Titan's gone.
The only other
nobody really left.
The only A-lister you've got at DC right now doing any regular work is Waid.
Yep.
Wait, hold on. Did you just call Mark Waid an A-lister?
Yeah.
I said doing A-list work. A-list work.
He's crushing World's Finest right now.
Yeah.
Don't care. He's still a hack.
And the bookends of Lazarus Planet, which is the Alpha and the Omega, those were the strongest, best parts of Lazarus Planet, and those were both written by Waid.
Doc is still upset about that.
I was going to ask, how do you guys feel about the new Superman series? I know it's only been 2 issues so far, but how do you think Joshua Williamson, excuse me, not this Josh, has been doing on that title so far?
It's pretty good. I like the first issue. The second issue I liked okay, not as much as the first issue, but it was strong. It was good.
Okay.
It's back to more classic type of Superman that isn't dealing with kind of weird, I struggled to be an alien in the human world and all this other stuff. You don't get a lot of that. It's more classic True Blue, hope for the future, trying to save everybody type of Superman. That's what people want.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I've gotten there's someone that's kind of in the midst of the Superman office right now that I know. And I'm hearing good things from the office, and even to the point that the Superman office is pretty much saying, like, hey, we've got these ideas, this is what we're trying to do. We're kind of letting Tom Taylor just do his thing over there. So that's kind of the office's outlook for the Superman franchises.
Obviously, Superman's going to be an enormous character moving forward. We got a Superman event with Brainiac looking like it's on the horizon. We got multiple Superman titles. Action comic sales are up. It looks like the Superman title has definitely gotten an enormous boost since they canceled the John Kent one and went back to Clark Kent. So we also got Superman Lost. Christopher Priest, not bad.
The first issue was not bad.
Book. What are you talking about?
No, the first issue was not bad, but this is Christopher Priest we're talking about. I'm going to wait till I see issues 2 and 3. We'll see. The first issue was
problem with Christopher Priest?
The man cannot tell a linear story to save his life. He is. He can't. If you because he's writing all this stuff over at Dynamite, and he wrote that the Black Adam story, and he wrote that weird U.S. agent story. He starts in the middle of some scene, and then he goes over here, and then he's over there, and then he's over. I don't know if it's like a focus problem, what it is, but he can't tell a simple, straight, linear plot to save his life. And it's weird, and it's very hard to enjoy a comic when you don't understand what direction you're headed.
But he does love to title every one of those scenes as something different.
He has that black panel with the little header, like a chapter book. Yep.
Yeah.
Better than a lot of writers these days. It's like, oh, we're in a new building. I didn't realize.
Oh, that Tim Drake Robin #7. There were 0 transitions in that book. 0.
Nothing made sense in that comic book.
At least the art's better.
They threw the pages up in the air, and then whatever order they came down in is the order that they published them. There was no plot.
I was telling Kyle from Comics Elite, I legitimately thought there were pages missing from the book, and nope, that's just how it reads.
So look, if you're a smart comics reader and you pay Patreon to support Weird Science Comics and you get into our Slack, you should have seen Jim Warner lose his mind after reading that issue. He's like,
oh, no.
The restaurant is on fire. It's literally on fire behind them, and the two of them are just sitting there chit-chatting. There are people inside, and Robin is just sitting there talking to his boyfriend. Die. The restaurant is on fire behind them, and they're just sitting there smiling, laughing, having a conversation. When are you going to do something? What kind of
not only that, they're walking away from the burning building.
It's on fire. Like there are people inside.
People are dying.
His parents are inside. What are you doing?
Sorry, Doc. I didn't mean to
interrupt. His parents were just like condemning his lifestyle. Aren't they fit to burn?
You are absolutely going to love our review of that comic because it's
on fire. It's on fire.
Everything about this comic was fucking terrible.
The art was good.
The art was good. That was it. It was the only redeeming part of it. But not the storytelling. But not the storytelling in the art, just the art itself. The actual line work was good. The storytelling was just as bad as the actual plot, and I don't even know.
Doc might have an aneurysm or two during the review.
Yeah, maybe.
Can't wait.
I don't know about that art though. The art's pretty tight, but it looks digital. I mean, like there's something finky, something off. I'm sorry. I'm just maybe I'm a traditionalist. Maybe I'm old.
You just hate manga, is what it is.
No, I mean you could just tell the quality difference. You mean you're seeing a reproduction of actual ink filled in with color, as opposed to something that was digitally manipulated. There's a certain quality to it.
Where you're going to see that problem the most is, I think for most part, where people who are digital artists, the inks and lines, I think they've gotten a lot closer to working on paper. Colorists are still having a lot of problems because they will use brushes what they, like in Photoshop or whatever, what they call a brush, which is basically a pixelation of the dot and goes big, and they don't know how to feather properly to make it look like a traditional colorist would have done. That part of the comic art.
Traditionally, the colorist would have had 5 colors to choose from.
Yeah.
Now everything looks like poop or green.
Yes.
Yeah, so now you get these like you get a highlight that just looks like a white streak, and it looks like glossy and weird. And plus, for some reason, I don't know why this is a lot of digital artists, they don't know what a shadow is. So they'll take a character and put it on the background and forget to do shadows on the ground. Like there's supposed to be somebody. They don't integrate the character into the scenery. It's like copy paste. There you go with the layers. And for some reason they forget that there's if you look at
they forget their light source. I mean that's everywhere.
We're going to talk about this one later, but I'm going to pick on artists. Marguerite Sauvage, who does the Power Girl stuff in Action Comics, and she also did the Woman of Tomorrow, not the Woman of Tomorrow, the Supergirl stuff during Fear State and all that. Not Fear State, the Future State. Everything is bright. There's not you can't find a shadow anywhere in that art. Now the artistry looks good and the color blending looks good, but you won't find a single shadow anywhere in her art. And it's like it looks so flat because
I can actually see I can see what's going on in this comic book, unlike most modern comics, which look like it looks like shit in the dark with mud on it. That's what it looks like. You can't tell a fucking thing with most modern colorists. This one, I can actually see what was going on. The only part of it that was really, really hinky was the fire. The fire looked terrible and it didn't look like real fire.
They also the characters themselves, when it's not in action sequences, they still draw them as these 12 to 13-year-old kids. It's so awkward to see Tim and Bernard
very
I believe, Wes, we might have referred to it as the 1990s teenage boy heartthrobs that would have been on the wall of a 14-year-old girl's bedroom.
Tiger
or Josh's. Don't
or Josh's or Josh.
Here's a little fun fact for you guys. I had Pamela Anderson on my wall.
Fuck yes!
Wow.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Don't play with me. You got Pop Magazine.
My goodness.
It was Pam Anderson Baywatch.
You've got a good eye.
Hey,
good camera throw in that one.
I'll say this real quick too, in terms of inking and just the art, and I'll move on. But I met Matt Bat Banning at the WonderCon last weekend, and one of the things we were talking about is just classic inking. And if you guys have ever seen Bat's work, it's like David Finch, Mark Silvestri, Michael Turner. Bat has inked. Yeah,
I have a few pieces of his original art in my house. So yeah, it's beautiful.
It is that is one of the top-notch inkers. And so to hear him talk about the art form was really interesting, because he's talking about using stippling tools and toothbrushes and getting different different textures for different armor or different backgrounds to really separate the characters from different. And hearing all this, I'm just thinking in my head, the digital has lost all of this, and that's why we see such a flat picture for all these books. So and to include Tim Drake Robin #7.
We get decent illustrations, but we get no visual storytelling for the most part.
Absolutely.
What modern comic art needs to bring it back? Cross hatching.
Yes, and backgrounds. For the love of God.
Yeah. They need
it's a character in
pencil.
front of a colored background.
Well, you don't like just a single color that's gradiated from dark to light? Full background?
You don't like the Dodsons, huh? Is that what you're saying?
There's a way to do that and do it correctly. If you're trying to do a shock moment where you're trying to express a particular emotional state, that can work well. But that can't be half your comic. That doesn't work. It can't work that way.
We do have a few super chats, and we'll start wrapping this bad boy up. Caleb says, off topic, what's your thoughts on Carol Danvers from the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon? Never watched it.
Haven't either.
But I bet she was a ton more likable.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that
didn't
cartoon.
watch
It was okay. It was okay.
I haven't seen Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and no, I need to.
Was she dressed
Gabe,
like Warbird?
you get the
Or
seal of approval?
Yeah, I think that was a fairly good depiction of the character as she was traditionally known before the Dark Times. Before
Is it as good as Predator #1?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
What happened, Gabe? I gotta get the straight dope on this one. What is it? The yeet. We gotta get the yeet on this one, Gabe. You used to be one of the toughest reviewers out there. If you didn't produce something really high quality, you would not give it your seal of approval.
I still am.
It feels like some things are slipping through the cracks. Are you having Chat GPT write to you some reviews or something?
Not for reviews, no. Okay, look. I will always grade a so-so comic a little bit higher if I see potential. If I see the germ of an idea, they're like, oh, that could be interesting. Maybe the execution isn't fully there. Maybe it doesn't play out exactly right. But if I see, that's why I like, go back to the start of the stream with the first Sabretooth series that eventually led to Sabretooth and the Exiles. I liked where that series started because I saw what the potential of where it could go.
I remember having the same idea, and then Doc yelled at me.
Yeah, but the problem is Laval didn't capitalize on it. He planted the seed, but then he let it die. So that's where I look like the idiot from, I think it was issue 4 or 5, or whenever that thing cut off before it continued again. But if there's a seed of potential, I'll give it a little bit of a pass. For Predator #1, I saw the seed of potential. I liked where it was going. Now, whether or not you could argue about whether or not Brisson paid it off, maybe not so much as
who are we supposed to root for, the Predator or the girl that was murdering them left and right?
Theta, the girl.
I thought I was supposed to be rooting.
But here's the thing: I saw a lot of people. I saw people complaining in 2 areas with Theta. The first area is they're like, "There's no way a girl can beat up a predator." It's like,
never said that.
Dude, well, not you, but I've heard that complaint multiple times. It's like, come on, dude. She's partly cybernetic. She's wearing this fancy armor. She's got this big ship that's got this AI super brain. She's got a lot of advantages she can pull from. So that's fun. The other complaint I heard about was, well, where does this fit in with the movies? It's like,
I don't care about that.
Sometimes the comic doesn't necessarily need to fit directly into the movies. It can be part of that greater universe, but it can stand on its own. Well, what is it between that movie and that movie? I don't know. Who cares?
I just expect the Predator to be a threat in a Predator comic book, not just something that she's been slaying for 15 years easily so she can find the one-armed Predator from fucking The Fugitive.
Well, first of all, not easily, because she's lost multiple limbs that have been replaced by cybernetics. Second of all, it was just like that little crab thing on its mouth that got cut off. Sometimes you just got to let it go. You just got to let it go and just enjoy the story for what it is. And I think part
You've been
of
watching
that,
too much Frozen, man. What is it? Let It Be. Well, that's John Lennon.
Okay, I like Frozen. I'm not gonna deny it. I like Frozen. Okay, so, but the hardest part of being a reviewer, and Josh, I think you can back me up on this one. The hardest part of being a reviewer is you can't let yourself get cynical.
Yeah.
You can't let yourself be exposed to like 10, 12, 15 comics in a row that are terrible.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the 16th one that's actually good, you're in such a
down
mind state that you give that comic an unduly harsh review. You have to kind of cleanse yourself a little bit. You got to reset yourself a little bit and treat each comic individually with the ability to be good or bad based on its own merits. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's no way as possible, but that's what you got to do. And that's where it gets into. I think where a lot of reviewers struggle with that.
What are you cleanse with?
Sometimes I just had to take a day off. Like I'd have to write some reviews and then have some reviews come later. Sometimes I just need to go watch a movie that I liked, like kind of reset, kind of get back in a.
We drove off Gabe again.
Yeah.
Set the bad comics on fire.
Rip them
Granted,
I'm here.
That's most of the store, but.
And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes with Marvel and DC in particular, you'll get an entire week where it's just nothing but crap.
Yeah,
and that's hard.
True.
Because when you go into the following week, you got to say, okay, reset yourself. You got to cleanse it all. You got to let the bad energy out, and that's part of doing the job right.
Josh, Common Sense wants to know what's the news about Connor Kent from the Superman office.
Look, I'm not going to come over here and start saying everything that's coming out. But
come on,
no, I'm not going to.
Spill.
They have ideas that they're taking things. They are just essentially letting.
Are they going with the Megan Fitzmartin idea?
Oh no.
Where she had him and Tim Drake holding hands?
No. They're trying to avoid that.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Again, the comment was they are trying to keep some of that stuff away to the side and get back to some traditional stuff. And
Alan wants to know, how would Tom King sell pins, Josh?
I'm trying to think of how like self-deprecating I can be right now.
His mom
represents my mommy.
His mommy will sell it. He
No.
called his mommy to sell it for him.
No. This is Tom King we're talking about. He'll say, "You either buy this pen or I'm going to kill this baby."
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, like I have a pen over here. It's a pen that I used. These pens I used when I was in the CIA. I'm gonna try to write some stuff with it. But if you want to buy some, you can buy some. I hope you like it. Yeah, I kind of killed someone's mom with that pen though.
And I love that pen so much, but people just hate it now.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
That's what happens when you kill somebody.
I will say it's really weird because I actually interviewed Tom King 2016, and all the mannerisms that he has now, where he like the nervous mannerisms he has now, he did not have that then. He was like very set, like full attention, was not nervous, was direct. It's weird seeing how different he is as a person now. It's just odd.
Very nice. Frank Zanka says Nightwing has gone off the rails. Not sure what McKay is doing in Doctor Strange, and I enjoyed seeing Silver Sable in Venom. Dungeons and Dragons was fun. I'm assuming that's the movie, and I was surprised to learn that Echo was in the kid. How long has Echo been done, Josh? I thought they had to rewrite that to include more Daredevil and Kingpin.
So it's like filming wise, I think it's been predominantly done for a good while now, a couple of months. And they were going to come back and do some rewrites and some reshoots to kind of correct some stuff. I'm hearing rumbles that they're going to just take portions of it now and incorporate it into Daredevil, which might honestly be the smart move to go.
Be the very smart move.
Yeah. So, if they can take kind of the key elements of that, man, you could take like 70% of that and put it in Daredevil, and you're still going to have plenty of Daredevil if that arc runs through those 18 episodes. So we'll see what happens. Disney's trying to definitely figure some stuff out and condense and go from there.
I thought people didn't like this Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine. What happened?
I'm hearing it's fun. I'm hearing it's
Nope.
fun.
Nobody liked the promotion for it. It was the worst promoted film possibly of all times, but supposedly it's actually okay. I still have no interest in seeing it, but
it could be one of those
situations. It was actually really fun.
Yeah, it could be one of those situations where people had such low expectations based on the promos that they went in and were like, "Hey, you know what? That was actually not too bad. Like, it was fun. I'll give it that."
Well, the first Dungeons and Dragons movie was really bad. Did Thora Birch in it? Remember?
Oh, come on, Jeremy Irons. Yeah. He was hamming it up in that thing.
Which was the one with Marlon Wayans?
That one.
That's the one. Yeah. Remember when they made Waterworld, and then what's his face, the one actor,
Costner.
Waterworld's a misunderstood classic.
The bad guy, the villain from Waterworld.
Oh, Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper realized he was in a terrible movie and just decided to go off the rails and ham it to the nines and made the movie better. If it's going to be bad, I might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
Waterworld's a bit of an underrated film, if you ask me.
Indeed.
But if you don't like Jed McKay's Doctor Strange, reading Moon Knight. That series has been pretty solid the entire way through.
But I'll agree that Nightwing is gone off the rails. I don't know what Tom Taylor's doing with Nightwing. It's a mess.
I haven't read it in like 4 months. What happened?
He basically turned it into the Teen Titans book out of the blue. And you still have a serial killer named Heartless that's been running around for almost a year and a half that he's done absolutely nothing with. So this guy just pops in once in a while, kills a bunch of people.
So after the issue 100, it just became a Titans book.
Basically, yeah.
I haven't looked at it since then.
Yeah. It's just a Titans book now. But the funny thing is, Tom Taylor is starting an official Titans book in a few months. So he's basically starting Titans early to transition to another Titans book that's going to come out. I don't know.
All right, there we go. Callum, you shouldn't have done this, Josh.
No. Here we go. Here we go.
This pen brings plenty of traffic to this piece of paper, and the fact that this pen does not have a blue check mark is a travesty.
Yeah, and hey, guys, you can listen to me or not, okay? But what I'm telling you is you can use it as a pen, and I do it and make tons of money with it, and also you can get two, and you can use them as chopsticks. Multi-purpose, right? Chopsticks.
There's a video of Dan on Twitter some time ago, and he's got like a gas mask on at a convention, and he's signing a Spider-Man comic, and then the second he gets rid of he's done signing it, he like goes like this, and he goes, get it away from me, like that. And I was like, who would ever want to interact with a person like that? because I guess he didn't like that run or something. I was baffled that that's how a creator was interacting with his fan. So
Lastly, Josh, Megan Fitzmartin, how would you sell the pen?
Y'all trying to get me canceled. Hey guys, look, based on my success from writing comics, I decided to do a pen line highlighting my favorite LGBT character, Robin. You know he's always been gay. I love the history of comics. I love what's come before, even though they're all shit and woman-hating and all these characters are bigots. But hey, if you use my pens, you'll learn these things, and you'll learn what good comics actually are. Because everything in the past, it's not what it needs to be.
All right, Cal, don't ever do this again.
Yeah,
no more pen things.
I do have an idea, though.
All right, Doc, we don't need it. It sounds like it's going to be bad.
No. If Slot's ever at a convention, from the period where it was like rotating artists or writers on the 3 times a month Amazing Spider-Man, get every single comic except for the ones that Slot did and have him sign those.
You interrupted the show for that?
Yes.
Come on,
piss him off.
Get out of here. It's time to get to comic book recommendations. I got to eat chicken nuggets and talk to Gabe about the best comic books of the week.
Chicken nuggies.
MVP, you got a great YouTube channel, doing big things over there, doing a lot of live streams and whatnot. Do you have any comic books that people should read this week or shows that they should be looking out for?
Do I ever, brother? So this week Marvel came out with a Sabretooth issue 5 or something. Don't go read that. Go read the Larry Hama, Mark Texiera 4-issue miniseries of Sabretooth. This artwork is incredible. It looks like paintings. So I would highly recommend this. It's, the story's not amazing, but it's a lot of fun, and it is classic Sabretooth. And then I'd also recommend X-Men issue number 25 and Wolverine issue number 75 and number 90. If you guys want some classic,
are you all back issues now?
I'm back issues for this week.
Oh, I thought maybe you were giving up new comic books like that.
No. I mean, I really didn't have anything because Clobber in Time was good, but I think that even if you went back and read Fantastic Four issue 112, where they fight each other, I probably would recommend that instead of this one. So I don't know, all back issues for me this week, but a lot of good Adam Kubert stuff here. So if you guys are looking for some Adam Kubert art, like at his peak, and some great Larry Hama stuff, that's what I'm recommending.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We've also got Josh. I'm sorry, not Josh. We got Sully.
Hello.
Who's cosplaying as who is it?
Lex Luthor.
No, it's the guy with no hair.
The Kingpin.
Powder. Cosplaying as Powder this week. But you do have a fantastic shirt on that.
Thank you.
You know.
Pick it up in the store.
Official Comics Aficionados shirt through YouTube itself. There are links underneath the video. At least if you're mobile.
Get your
own.
You
recommend any new comic books?
I got some comics. I bought some funny books this week. Here's the brown paper bag from the local comic book shop that we should all be going and spending our money at. Here we go. I got Action Comics 1053. It's decent, and the backup feature is exactly what we thought it would be. I got Doom Patrol 1, and this is a really nice variant cover. Underneath this, see the silver? That's a scratch off. So that's Crazy Jane looking in a mirror, and there are 5 different characters that could be underneath this scratch off. And
can you win a Big Mac?
I don't know, but Yul Carter said we should put a piece of paper between this and the plastic or the Mylar when we bag this, so it doesn't pull off. You know what I mean?
Are you going to scratch it off? That's the question.
No, I'm going to keep it as is. Yeah, I got the Ambassadors issue number 1 by Mark Millar and Frank Whiteley. This was amazing. This was jaw dropping, no pun. This was some solid storytelling, great art. Quietly does it that the pencils, the inks, and the coloring. This is an amazing comic book. I got Stargirl 5 of 6 by Jeff Johns and Todd Knock. This is wrapping up next month, and this has been a fun ride. It's been lots and lots of young heroes. Todd Knock's really good at drawing this, and I'm really pleased with this. And for me and Wes, who are old fans, to make up for this travesty of Exo Man of War last week.
Now we're talking.
Oh, Jesus. Guess what I got? For $20, August of 1993, from Valiant Comics, I got Exo Man of War issue number 0. with this
Shooter.
wraparound foil cover embossed. It's got art by Joe Quesada, inked by Jimmy Palmiotti. This thing is beautiful. This is how a comic book should be, and this is everything I wanted in an Exo Man of War funny book. And I just love it. And just
one of the viewers thought you were a golf pro.
Yeah, I could be, you know,
with that hat.
You do drugs, Danny? Every day. Good.
Congratulations on the Exo Man Award.
Thanks. This is a wonderful magazine. This is a great comic book. It's just the art in it is just so, it's almost like Mobius. It's so alien and sci-fi at the beginning, and it just brings it right back to Earth in the past, and then gives us the origin story, and it's really good. And if you can get your hands on it, I got this for $20 in the back issue bin at my local comic book shop, where we should go and spend our money.
$4 you spend on the
Wait,
new one.
so you're saying you didn't like the EXO that just came out?
Hell no! Oh my god! I was just like, oh, is this a clue?
But that art is fantastic.
I think I like Liam Sharp, you know, but he's not my favorite.
I like him better when he does his traditional comic art rather than the painting stuff that's a lot more abstract.
Yeah, but this is a comic book.
Still,
this is amazing. Yeah. So that
when Valiant was good.
When Valiant was good. And it's got ads for Deathmate in it. I mean,
nice.
Geez, huh?
Calum says Fitzmartin's Instagram page. It's pathetic, and shills are worse. A lot worse. They actually said she understands Drake more. Yeah, it's like when the girl shows up at your kickboxing gym. And you're like, yeah, you could definitely kick all these guys' asses. So you should just be honest with people. Like, nah, you kick like a mouse. Sorry. That's kind of the way it is. Callum says, to save Josh, my pens have my politics, and if you don't like my pens, don't buy my pens. Magic. Kelly Sudagata.
That's right.
Very, very nice. Thank you very much. Who else we got? Did we hit you yet, Gabe?
Well, you and I are going to do a best of, so I'm going to say we're going to save our recommendations for that. I will tease it a little bit to say that some of the recommendations that came up in the panel will be talked about in that show. So just stay tuned for that. Just as a shameless plug, also, please follow Weird Science Marvel Comics, Weird Science DC Comics, and just for $1 a month, you can come into our Slack chat and yell at me every day, all day long, and I can't say no because that's what you pay for. Also, please support ComicalOpinions.com. That's the site that I run personally, and we cover everything from Valiant, including Exo Man of War, right? We cover Zenoscope, Dynamite, and a lot of indie creator stuff as well. So if you're looking for something that isn't the big two, Comical Opinions is where you go.
Did you realize how scientifically stupid Clunrad are after reading that Exo Man of War book, Gabe?
I think they tried to make something that was a very simple story seem really big and complicated and epic. They just went way over the top.
There's a comet headed for Earth. We need to intercede it. Then it's like, oh my goodness, that wasn't a comet. That was a missile. Like, how did you
not see that was a missile just by looking?
Get out of here!
They try to make it seem really epic, and they.
Earth, why are you not on Pluto? Why are you in another galaxy?
I'll say this: if Liam Sharp had not done the art, that comic would have gotten a much lower score. The art is the only thing that saves that comic. It's not the worst Clunrad writing I've ever seen. If you're reading Wonder Woman, you know they can get really bad. So this was a step up, but it wasn't great. And I don't know. Valiant's only publishing one comic a month. I don't know how they're going to sustain themselves writing stuff like this. I don't.
Yule Carter says, "Happy WrestleMania weekend."
Indeed.
One of the cool things about Disney Plus in the Philippines, I get to watch WrestleMania the day after, free on Disney Plus now. I guess it's not free since I paid for it, but still, I don't have to get the WWE network. Boom, I win. So Yule Carter is a wrestling freak, and I'll definitely be watching that the day after as well. Josh, you recommend any comic books now that you got the new job? Do you have time to read the funny pages?
I do. I read some this week, and I've got like a stack like this big of stuff I need to catch up on. But yeah, picked up Action Comics. I agree. I thought it was decent. What else? I did pick up Ambassadors. Go get it. Like,
I agree.
I don't
know what fucking MVP was doing there, giving the little like he tasted bad milk thing.
Yeah. No, Mark Miller is he's a treasure right now. He's single-handedly keeping the industry in good standings right now with his writing. It's incredible.
Man.
Agreed.
It's heading north.
I was gonna say, apparently I took some bad advice from Gabe, and I did not pick up It's Jeff, but it has a 9.5 rating. So, I think
Listen, any person with a brain in their head
probably gave it a 7.5.
That's gonna no, I did not review it. Any person who pays that's a $6 cover price on that book. All it is a collection of comic strips, like Calvin and Hobbes style, just packaged up in a comic for $6, and half of them don't make sense. Half of them don't make any sense. Why would
Who Hero's a good artist though?
I'm going to let him have his meltdown real quick. I will say I did pick up Waller versus Wildstorm. I have not read it yet, but it kind of looks like a throwback to. Is it bad? Oh, okay, no good. And then I didn't pick up Clobber in time, so I've got to go get that because I was like, I'll pass.
It's fun.
I got to go back. Yeah,
that's a good book. Finally, Doc, we know that you're not going to get any new comic books to recommend this week. What are you recommending? You recommending the comic book we're reviewing on Monday? You recommending Tim Drake Robin?
I recommend you set it on fire. I recommend that it gets thrown into the sun, and I recommend that anybody that bought it demand their money back. But I do not recommend purchasing it and reading it. I am heading down to Ides is having a big anniversary sale this weekend. So I'm going to head down there and buy more old comics. And on the line of old comics, let's see, what do I got?
Yule Carter is recommending a Tim Seeley book. What happened to Yule? First Gabe, now Yule.
I will say Yule, I've got both issues in my stack that I need to catch up on. So I will confirm or deny.
I don't even think you need to. Fantastic Four, very nice.
Yep. With the new Fantastic Four with Spidey, Ghost Rider, the most 1990s Fantastic Four of all times.
Oh, yeah.
And X-Men.
Nice.
I think this is issue 113. This is another one of my my reader copies. And then since we were talking about the Exiles, I'll show you. Why don't you buy the good Exiles comic? This series was actually good. Volume 1, go read that one. All the rest of them are fucking terrible.
Doc, are you wearing your Caucasian t-shirt?
I thought it was a penis at first.
Yes.
Until I saw the chin. Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Nice.
I almost bought that shirt.
Looking good.
I got the government nope shirt. That's a good one.
How funny is it that Marvel has come out with, the Sabretooth series and Clobber in Time, stuff like that. And you can look back into the 90s, 80s, 70s and find books that are still even better. But I will say that Clobber in Time was a lot of fun. So, but yeah, the Sabretooth, read that Exiles comic or read the Sabretooth series in 93. You can always find something that's a step up from what we're getting now.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out of here. I've got to talk about the best comic books with Gabe. I got to get me some chicken nuggies and then, get the video up tonight. So it should be a fun time. I've already recorded a few videos with Doc, which you'll see over the next couple of days. I do want to say thank you to everybody. And please have Eric in your thoughts and prayers as he continues his treatment over the next 60 days, I believe.
Eric, I told you not to use your cell phone by your face. You're supposed to set it on the counter and do speakerphone. And don't stick it in your pocket. You're gonna, ruin all your little swimmers. It's the radiation.
Your sister left a bottle of near my bottle of shampoo.
I know.
Get out. Go